Chapter 377. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. After Lin Jie disappeared from sight, Lin Jiej finally spoke up. I'll make up for the clothes you lost later. To be more exact, he had intentionally waited until this moment to speak up. This was the only way he wouldn't be casually harassed by Lin Jie like when they were shopping at the mall. Hearing those words, Shi Yao hurriedly shook her head and waved her hands. There's no need for that. You were the one who bought those clothes in the first place. As she spoke, she got into the car with Lin Jiej. After fastening her seatbelt, she added honestly, I was thinking of returning your money. You're returning my money? Lin Jiej was just about to start the car when he suddenly halted his movements and asked in a daze, as if he had heard something unexpected. That's right. It's your money, so of course I'm going to return it to you. Shi Yao replied generously. Lin Jiej pursed his lips as he shifted his gaze from Shi Yao's face to the road ahead of him, but he didn't react to it. Noticing that Lin Jiej wasn't saying anything, Shi Yao felt that something was amiss, so she tilted her head and asked, What's wrong? Lin Jiej snapped out of his daze, and he glanced at Shi Yao before shaking his head. Nothing. Following which, his gaze fell on a street lamp in front of him. There was a rose in the courtyard beside it, and it was blooming beautifully. However, this time he didn't stare for too long. Before Shi Yao could ask him any more questions, he had already stepped on the accelerator. Soft Bun was actually thinking of returning his money. Was he really that distant from her in her heart? In the past, when he didn't have much interest in women, he didn't think that there was anything wrong with these small details. He remembered that there were a few times when Song Chaoshi quarreled with his girlfriend and was chased out of the house by his girlfriend, leaving him pitifully returning to room 501. When he recounted the reasons behind their quarrels, he found them to be insignificant and boring. In his view, there was no need for him to care about such trivial matters. Compared to Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou, the opinions that he shared were few and far between. There was one time when he remembered it very clearly. That time it was Song Chaoshi's girlfriend who came from a poor family. Her father was sick, so she borrowed a high-interest loan. When Song Chaoshi found out about it, he was very angry and asked why she didn't come to him if something happened. That was probably the angriest fight he had ever seen between Song Chaoshi and his girlfriend. When Song Chaoshi returned to the hostel and borrowed money from him, he said, I don't think my girlfriend will ever want to be with me. He felt that it was ridiculous to escalate such a small matter to such a serious conclusion. At that time he replied Song Chaoshi with a single sentence. You're a man, why are you still fussing over such a small matter? You're just like a woman. How did Song Chaoshi reply to him? Song Chaoshi replied, Boss, you don't understand. It's precisely because you really like her that you're so calculative about these small matters. You like her. That's why you're willing to let her look for you when she's in trouble. In the end, he did not argue with Song Chaoshi. Perhaps it was because he really could not understand, or perhaps it was because he felt that Song Chaoshi cared too much. At this moment, when he heard Soft Bun say that she intended to return him the money, he suddenly felt a little more understanding of Song Chaoshi. Chapter 378. Some time later, Shi Yao's voice sounded in his ears. No, that's not it. It's the turn ahead. Lin Jiej finally snapped out of his daze, and it was only then that he realized that while his thoughts were running wild, the car had already arrived in the vicinity of Shi Yao's house. In his moment of absent-mindedness, he nearly drove the car off course. He quickly stepped on the brakes, and once the car slowed down, he made a turn according to Shi Yao's instructions. When the car finally stabilized, Lin Jiej finally recalled the reason why he had come to meet Shi Yao. He was here to confess to her and set up a date. Simply put, could this be considered as their first date? But how should he bring it up? Lin Jiej pondered for a moment before asking, Are you busy recently? I can't really say that I'm busy, but I have a lot of things to do. Shi Yao thought that Lin Jiej was just trying to chat with her, so she didn't think too much of it and continued on. Isn't it grandfather's birthday in 2 days? The day after my birthday, it's the final exam. Lin Jiej exclaimed in astonishment. It's almost the end of the semester? Hearing his reply, Shi Yao was stunned for a moment before asking in disbelief, Do you really not know, or are you just feigning ignorance? Pretending? Lin Jiej frowned for a moment before replying, I only remember the date of the National College Entrance Examination. I don't remember anything else. What if you forget the exam? Unexpectedly, Lin Jiej nodded and replied, "That's true. I forgot about the final exam in the second semester of my freshman year, and it was only when my teacher gave me a call that I found out about it. I was at home at the time, and by the time I arrived at school, an hour had already passed. Initially, I wasn't allowed to enter the examination hall, but the invigilator was on good terms with my father, so he let me in. Half an hour later, it was time to hand in my paper. Half a clock? The entire G University was saying that Lin Jiej was a flawless genius, but his examination time was only half an hour. Could it be that his results weren't that good? It wasn't easy for Shi Yao to catch a glimpse of Lin Jiej's problem. Blinking her eyes, she asked curiously, "If it's only half an hour, could it be that you didn't manage to finish the questions during the examination?" "Didn't finish the question? Impossible. Lin Jiej, why don't you take a guess?" "Guess?" Was he embarrassed to say that his results weren't good? Shi Yao bit on her finger and asked, "Were your results that bad back then?" "Not ideal." Was he really that bad in Soft Bun's eyes? Lin Jiej shook his head. Before he could say a word, Shi Yao had already come to a realization. "Oh, I got it. You failed the course." Lin Jiej fell silent. Did he just end up getting struck by lightning for showing off? With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej exclaimed, "How is that possible? My results in G University were all A+. Forget half an hour, even if there were only 20 minutes left, I would still be fine. Let me tell you, I finished the paper in 14 minutes and 30 seconds. The reason why I don't keep track of the time of the exam is because to me, exams are just a few fill-in-the-blank questions and multiple-choice questions. So, the reason he asked her to guess wasn't to guess how miserable he was, but to show off as a straight-A student? Shi Yao discreetly placed a hand on her chest to soothe the shock from the top student. Soon the car came to a stop at Shi Yao's house. After thanking him, she was just about to push the car door open when Lin Jiej suddenly called out to her, "Shi Yao?" Shi Yao turned around to look at Lin Jiej. Looking into Shi Yao's eyes, Lin Jiej couldn't help but feel a tinge of nervousness. He gulped down a mouthful of saliva before asking, "You'll be free after the end of semester exam, right?" Shi Yao shook her head and replied, "It's already the holidays, so of course I'll be free." Then, Lin Jiej lowered his head to take a look at the time. Today was the 23rd. Then he raised his head and asked, "The 30th is the second day of the holidays. Can I ask you out?" Chapter 379. Then, Lin Jiej lowered his head to take a look at the time. Today was the 23rd. He raised his head once more and asked, "The 30th is the second day of the holiday. Can I ask you out?" "Ask her out?" Hearing those words, a hint of astonishment flashed across Shi Yao's eyes as she looked at Lin Jiej. Meeting Luo Ruoxin's gaze, Lin Jiej spoke up once more. "Mountain Changming shall be our summer camp then." Summer camp? Did that mean she wasn't the only one he invited? Shi Yao's heart wavered a little, but her sixth sense told her that this summer camp wasn't as simple as she thought it to be. Noticing Shi Yao's hesitation, Lin Jiej lowered his gaze slightly, and with a nonchalant tone he continued, "There's a river over there, and the fish there are all wild. They're delicious when roasted. There's also a farmhouse over there that makes chestnut braised pork and wild vegetables. Grilled fish? Braised pork with chestnut? Wild vegetables?" As these delicacies flitted across Shi Yao's mind, she suddenly lost her so-called sixth sense. Without any hesitation, she nodded her head vigorously and agreed, "Sure, sure. What time shall we meet that day?" So it turned out that in order to ask her out, he couldn't rely on his personal charm. He had to rely on the temptation of delicious food. Lin Jiej was speechless for a moment before he replied, "I'll set off at 9, so I'll be there around 10:30. I'll pick you up then." "Huh. It doesn't seem to be on the way, right? Chongming Mountain happens to be in the opposite direction of my home. Isn't it a little too troublesome for you to pick me up?" Shi Yao pondered for a moment before saying, "I'll call a cab over. It'll be very convenient. We'll meet at the entrance of Mountain Changming then." Lin Jiej pondered for a moment before agreeing to it. "Sure, let's meet at the entrance of Mountain Changming at 11 o'clock that day." Shi Yao's eyes curled into crescents as she replied with an before saying, "If there's nothing else, I'll be heading upstairs." "Okay." Lin Jiej nodded before following Shi Yao out of the car. He helped her open the trunk and took out her stuff. When he passed it over to her, he worriedly reminded her once more, "Don't forget, it's the 30th, 11 in the morning. Mountain Changming." "I'll remember." "Goodbye then." "Goodbye." Shi Yao turned around and left. But barely after taking 2 steps, Lin Jiej called out to her once more. Shi Yao turned around, and Lin Jiej said, "Good night." Shi Yao replied with a smile, "Good night." She stared at Lin Jiej for 2 seconds before turning around and walking briskly into the apartment. Lin Jiej waited for the lights in Shi Yao's bedroom to light up before driving back to the city. Due to the fact that he had accidentally lost Lin Jiej's clothes, he knew that he would surely be stopped by her if he returned home. So, instead of returning home, he returned to the academy. Returning back to his dormitory room, Lin Jiej took a shower before lying on his bed. He discreetly pinched his waist, and the stinging pain told him that he had really managed to get a date with Shi Yao. He buried his lips into the quilt and couldn't help but smile. He was afraid that Shi Yao wouldn't be able to find the location that day, or that she might have gotten it wrong. A moment later, he picked up his phone and sent Shi Yao a message. "I'm home." Without waiting for Shi Yao's reply, he searched for the complete address of Mountain Changming on the internet and copied and pasted it over to Shi Yao. "This is the exact address. See you there on the 30th, 11 in the morning." A while later, his phone lit up. He had just received a new message. It was Shi Yao's reply. "See you there. See you there. I'll definitely see you there that day." Chapter 380. Over the next 2 days, Shi Yao busied herself with studying for her final exams. As the final exams were getting closer and closer, Shi Yao had less and less time to play her games. Lin Jiej, who had never known what revision was, suddenly had a lot less time to play games every day. In the blink of an eye, it was Tuesday, Grandpa Lin's birthday. The birthday banquet was set to be held at China World Hotel Beijing at 5:30 p.m. On Tuesday afternoon, Shi Yao's lessons lasted all the way until 4 p.m. Due to the tight schedule, she couldn't call for a makeup artist, so after returning to her dormitory room, she took a bath and changed into a gown. With He Tian and Lung Nuan's help, she put on some light makeup before leaving the room. The driver that Grandpa Lin had sent was already waiting for her downstairs. Upon seeing Shi Yao walking out of the dormitory room, the driver quickly got down and opened the car door for her. It was fortunate that it was a Tuesday, so the traffic wasn't that bad before 5:30 p.m. Even though it was already 4:50 p.m. when Shi Yao set off, it was only 5:15 p.m. when she arrived at China World Hotel Beijing. After the car came to a stop, Shi Yao thanked the driver who had opened the car door for her before getting down and entering China World Hotel Beijing. There was a signboard at the entrance, indicating the direction to Grandpa Lin's birthday banquet hall. Following the signboard, Shi Yao easily found her way to her destination. When she stepped out of the elevator, she immediately saw Grandpa Lin standing at the entrance of the banquet hall. He had a walking stick in his hand, and Auntie Sun was standing by his side. From time to time, he would shake hands with the guests and exchange pleasantries with them. Shi Yao intentionally slowed down her footsteps. When the crowd at the entrance had all greeted Grandpa Lin and entered the banquet hall, she walked up to him. "Grandpa Lin, happy birthday. Yao Yao, you're here?" Upon seeing Shi Yao, the smile on Grandpa Lin's face deepened. "Auntie Sun, bring Yao in." "There's no need for that." Shi Yao hurriedly shook her head. "Grandpa Lin, you can have Auntie Sun accompany you. I'll be fine alone. Besides, I saw Sis Jai too." Grandpa Lin followed Shi Yao's line of sight into the banquet hall. And as expected, he saw Lin Jai chatting with a client of his company. However, Grandpa Lin was afraid that Shi Yao would be too embarrassed to disturb Lin Jai after entering, so he still called out to his granddaughter, Little E. Hearing the commotion, Lin Jai shot a glance in the direction of the door before saying a few apologetic words to the person in front of her. After which, she hurriedly rushed over to the door in her high heels. Lin Jai first called out Yao Yao, before turning to Grandpa Lin and asking, "Grandpa, what's wrong?" Old Master Lin said, "Yao Yao is here. Remember to accompany her." Don't just greet others and neglect Yao. I understand, grandfather. Don't worry, I'll be taking little darling Yao away with me, Lin Jai said as she grabbed Shi Yao's hand. Barely after Shi Yao took 2 steps forward, she suddenly heard someone calling out Uncle Lin from behind. The voice sounded rather familiar, so she subconsciously turned her head around. What a coincidence. The moment she arrived, the people from the Liang family also arrived. Liang Huiling was chatting with Grandpa Lin with a smile on her face. Liang Juicy was standing by the side, looking around as if he was looking for someone, and Liang Mumu was staring at her. Perhaps it was because she had heard the conversation between Grandpa Lin and her, and she had also seen how Grandpa Lin had called Lin Jai over, but her lips were tightly pressed together. Chapter 381. Shi Yao and Liang Mumu stared at one another for a moment. Liang Mumu didn't say a word, and neither did Shi Yao. Eventually, she retracted her gaze and followed Lin Jai into the banquet hall. Grandpa Lin's birthday banquet was a very important event for the Lin clan every year. Grandpa Lin was fond of the Chinese style, so the chandeliers in the banquet hall were temporarily replaced with wooden chandeliers. Even the tables and chairs were replaced with ancient mahogany. From this, it could be seen that a lot of thought and effort had gone into the decorations. There were already quite a few guests in the banquet hall, and every single one of them was dressed exquisitely. Not too long after Shi Yao and Lin Jai entered the banquet hall, Liang Huiling walked in with Liang Mumu and Liang Juicy. While Shi Yao was Lin Jie's fiancée, her background was much lower than Liang Mumu's. Liang Mumu had attended all kinds of banquets with Liang Huiling since young, so it went without saying that she was acquainted with many people. She was able to call every single guest in the banquet hall by name, and she was able to exchange a few pleasantries with them. But Shi Yao was different. Other than a few close relatives of the Lin clan, she didn't know most of the people here. Having known Liang Mumu for so many years, Shi Yao had some understanding of the latter's personality. Liang Mumu was indeed a sociable person, but Liang Mumu was exceptionally sociable today. Raising her wine glass, she walked around the crowd in high spirits. She had a sense of propriety, and her smile was appropriate to the occasion. She looked like an elegant socialite, so it didn't take long for her to become the center of attention in the banquet hall. Even the distant relatives of the Lin clan standing around Shi Yao had gathered together to whisper about Liang Mumu, and their words were filled with compliments. The banquet hall was huge, but it was only that much. It was inevitable for Liang Mumu to get close to Shi Yao. Every time this happened, Liang Mumu's voice would be a little high, and Shi Yao could hear her words clearly. Of course, Shi Yao knew that Liang Mumu's actions were intentional. She was intentionally showing off to her, so that she would know that the gap between them wasn't just a little. But to Shi Yao, Liang Mumu's little schemes were a little boring. No matter how outstanding Shi Yao's performance was, she wouldn't feel the slightest bit of jealousy or sadness. To her, no matter how dazzling Liang Mumu was, she wouldn't be able to outshine the meter-tall peach cake placed in the distance. Butter, coconut, chocolate, and all kinds of fruits. It's so tempting just by looking at it. Shi Yao had lost count of how many times she had glanced at the cake, but all of a sudden, the bustling banquet hall fell silent. However, she didn't pay attention to what was going on. Instead, her eyes were glued to the longevity peach cake. Why the banquet hall was so slowly? Why the birthday banquet wasn't started yet? The reason why the banquet hall suddenly fell silent was due to Lin Jie's arrival. In fact, he didn't really like to wear suits, but today was his grandfather's birthday, and many business partners had come. As the only successor of Lin's enterprise, it was necessary for him to dress appropriately. Yao Lin Lin Liang and another. Liang and all. Another and. When the 2 girls who came to hit on him saw this scene, they left in embarrassment one after another. Shi Yao finally turned to look at Lin Jie and replied hesitantly, "Are you done with your revision?" Softbun was finally looking at him. Lin Jie's mood immediately lightened up. He was just about to continue speaking when Lin Jai, who was seated beside him, suddenly spoke up. "Yao, do you want to take a few photos with me?" "Sure." Shi Yao turned to look at Lin Jai. Lin Jie glared at Lin Jai furiously. Chapter 383. Lin Jai wanted a few full body shots, so she passed her phone over to Lin Jiej and said, "Help me take a few photos with Yao." Lin Jai paused for a moment before adding, "I want a full body photo." Without saying a word, Lin Jiej stood up with his phone in hand. Before taking the photos, Lin Jai was still worried about Lin Jiej's photographic skills, so she kept reminding him, "Remember to take a few more photos at once so that I can choose the best one. Also, when you take the photo, make sure Mai and Yao Yao's feet are touching the bottom of the photo. This way it will make our legs look longer and taller. Also, remember to turn on your beauty filter." In the face of Lin Jai's incessant commands, Lin Jiej didn't say a single word at all. All he did was take a picture of the two of them with his phone. After taking about 20 or 30 photos, Grandpa Lin's birthday party began. Everyone stopped chatting and took their seats according to the nameplates on the tables. After the crowd quietened down, Old Master Lin stood at the front of the banquet hall and began to speak. As he spoke, the waiter began to serve the dishes. By the time the waiters were done serving the dishes, Grandpa Lin was almost done with what he had to say. He took the wine cup that Auntie Sun handed over to him and toasted everyone present. Next it was time to eat. During this process, many people came to toast Old Master Lin and presented him with birthday gifts. Shi Yao, Lin Jiej, and Lin Jai, who were seated at the same table as Grandpa Lin, also gave him their blessings and gifts. Liang Mumu was seated at the table behind Shi Yao, and she had been keeping an eye on Shi Yao the entire time. When Shi Yao passed the gift over to Grandpa Lin, Liang Mumu discreetly nudged the young lady sitting beside her. The young lady raised her head to look at Liang Mumu, only to see Liang Mumu raising her chin toward Grandpa Lin's table. Understanding Liang Mumu's intention, she quickly turned her gaze toward Shi Yao and Grandpa Lin's table, and after Grandpa Lin received Shi Yao's gift, she feigned a casual glance and said, "Grandpa Lin, aren't you going to open Yao Yao's gift to take a look?" Hearing those words, Shi Yao turned to look at the female student who had just spoken. She couldn't remember the girl's name, but she had an impression of her. She was one of the people who had spoken ill of her in the washroom the first time she went to Golden Resplendence with Lin Jiej. He was also one of the people she saw with Liang Mumu on her birthday when she accompanied Lin Jiej to the shopping mall to pick out a present for Lin Jai. Most likely this question wasn't meant for her but for Liang Mumu, right? Just like back then at Golden Resplendence, those nasty words that she had said about her were also instigated by Liang Mumu, right? Grandpa Lin didn't think too much into it. Shun Balian couldn't help but feel a little indignant after hearing so much about Shi Yao. She walked up to Liang Mumu and started gossiping about Shi Yao, say, "Why does Grandpa Lin treat such an ordinary poor lass as his treasure? How is she worth it? Had Old Master Lin's eyes gone blurry because of his old age? Why does he keep praising everyone he meets? How disgusting. There's also Sis Jai. She's the role model of our Beijing's socialite circle. Even now, whenever the number one socialite is mentioned, she's the first person that comes to mind. Why does he dote on that ugly lass so much?" Compared to Shun Balian's rage, Liang Mumu was much calmer. She took a sip of the soup in front of her before replying, "It's just a struggle before death. There's no need to be so bothered by it." Chapter 385. It's just a deathbed struggle. There's no need to take it to heart. As she said those words, a hint of hostility flashed across her eyes. Yes, it's a deathbed struggle. I'll let her gloat for a moment. The more Grandpa Lin flaunts and praises her now, the more tragic her death will be. What is this called? Death by flattery? When it was nearing 8 o'clock, Auntie Sun stood up apologetically and stopped the people who were about to present Grandpa Lin's birthday present. At 8 o'clock sharp, the moment that Shi Yao had been looking forward to the entire night arrived. The moment when the birthday song was sung and the birthday cake was cut. There were too many people present, so even though the birthday cake was huge, it wasn't as big as everyone had expected. Thus, throughout the entire process of cutting and distributing the cake, Shi Yao's heart ached as if it was shedding a piece of flesh. In the end, when she saw that the cake had been distributed cleanly, she felt as if someone had stabbed a knife into her heart, and blood gushed out of it. It took a long while before she picked up her fork and started eating the cake in front of her. Grandpa Lin didn't like sweets, so he symbolically took a piece of cake with his fork and passed the rest to Shi Yao. As if she had just received a treasure, Shi Yao happily accepted the cake. Even her voice sounded sweeter than before. Thank you, Grandpa Lin. In order to control her figure, Lin Jai rarely ate high-calorie food at night. So, just like Grandpa Lin, she symbolically took a small piece of cake with her before passing the rest to Shi Yao. With another piece of cake in her hands, Shi Yao was even more delighted. Her smile was so bright that even her eyebrows were raised into the sky. Thank you, Sis Jai. Seeing her reaction, Lin Jiej thought to himself, it's just 2 pieces of cake. Is there a need to be so happy? The next second, he pushed his untouched piece of cake to Shi Yao and said, eat more if you like it. Having finished a piece of cake, Shi Yao placed the empty plate by the side and took the piece of cake that Lin Jiej had passed to her. As she stabbed the cake with her fork, she gave Lin Jiej a radiant smile. Due to the food in her mouth, she didn't say a word. However, her action of taking the initiative to eat the cake had pleased him. In an instant, Lin Jiej's mood lightened up. The next moment, he turned to his parents, big aunt, and uncle who were seated beside him and asked, Dad, aren't you unable to eat sweets due to your high blood sugar level? I'll take this one away so that it won't go to waste. Also, Mom, aren't you on a diet just like Lin Jai? So don't eat too much. Auntie, you're about to reach 100 pounds, right? You have to control your appetite. I'll take this cake for you. Uncle, I thought you didn't like to eat cantaloupe. Look, there's cantaloupe on your cake, so I'll be a good person and help you deal with this cake. It couldn't be helped. Soft Bun liked to eat, so he could only thicken his skin and help her snatch her food. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej took out the 4 plates of cake and arranged them neatly, waiting for Shi Yao to finish her cake before feeding it to her. After cutting the cake, not long after, someone came to give Old Master Lin a gift. Most of those present were juniors around the same age as Lin Jai and Lin Jiej, so naturally, they didn't have as many restrictions on etiquette. Chapter 386. It would have been better if she hadn't flipped through the photo album, but as soon as she did, the short-tempered Lin Jai flew into a rage. She abruptly slammed her palm on the table and threw her phone onto the table before turning around to glare at Lin Jiej. Her actions were so overbearing that she alarmed Shi Yao, who was engrossed in eating her cake. Before Lin Jai could spit out the word Lin Jiej through gritted teeth, she met Shi Yao's dazed gaze. In an instant, the words that were already at the tip of her tongue couldn't come out. Even the furious expression on her face had turned into a faint smile. I can't be so violent. What if I scare Yao Yao? Lin Jai tried her best to calm herself down. It wasn't until she finally managed to suppress the rage in her chest that she said to Shi Yao, it's fine, it's fine. My hand trembled earlier, and I lost my grip on my phone. Shi Yao replied with an, oh, before turning to Lin Jai and telling her, be careful, Sis Jai. After which, she lowered her head and continued eating her cake. Lin Jai waited until Shi Yao's gaze had completely moved away from her before glaring at Lin Jiej viciously. After which, she picked up her phone and began sending Lin Jiej a WeChat message. I told you to take a photo of me and Yao Yao. Are you taking a photo of us together? Have you never been to school? Don't you know what a photo is? A photo is also known as a group photo. It refers to taking a picture together. You call this taking a picture together? Look at this photo. After sending that message, Lin Jai selected a photo and sent it over to Lin Jiej. Oh. May I know where I am? And this photo. Lin Jai selected another photo and sent it over to Lin Jiej. Oh. What kind of bullshit photo is this? Only my hand is exposed. Where's my face? Needless to say, the corner of my shirt is exposed. And this, a strand of my hair is exposed. If you don't know how to take photos, don't take them. Why don't you ascend to the heavens if your photos are so trashy? Lin Jai sent a bunch of messages in a single breath. Seeing that Lin Jiej wasn't replying to her messages, she raised her head to look at him. His phone was placed on the table. He glanced at it from time to time, probably because the messages kept coming in, but he had no intention of replying. Along the way, Lin Jiej noticed Lin Jai's gaze on him, and he shot a glance in her direction. However, he quickly retracted his gaze, treating her as air as he continued staring at Shi Yao. After Shi Yao finished her slice of cake, he pushed another slice of cake in front of her with a single hand. Seeing this sight, Lin Jai gritted her teeth in fury. Suppressing the urge to pummel Lin Jiej to the ground, she picked up her phone and sent another message to Lin Jiej. Lin Jiej, stop playing dead. Lin Jiej, if you're awesome, reply to my message. Lin Jiej, I'm your mother. Lin Jai finally received a reply from Lin Jiej. It was a screenshot. The screenshot was a message that Lin Jiej had sent to their mother, Zhang Wangui. Lin Jai instinctively raised her head, and as expected, her mother was glaring at her sternly. Lin Jai steadied her temper and shot Zhang Wangui a smile. When Zhang Wangui finally shifted his gaze away, she began to pay her respects to all 36 generations of Lin Jiej's ancestors before lowering her head to look at her phone. Chapter 387. Who cares if he has her in his eyes? Also, who is he flaunting his love for? As a woman who only has money in her eyes, she wouldn't care about such things. Choked by Lin Jiej's words, Lin Jai closed her eyes. She took a deep breath and then another deep breath and then another. Eventually she fell silent. Roughly 10 seconds later, her lips curled up into a bright smile. Little guy. Does he think that he can anger me just like that? With this thought in mind, Lin Jai picked up her phone and opened up a photo editing app. She then changed the photos that Lin Jiej had taken of only Shi Yao into better-looking filters. After she was done editing the photos, she picked out a few that looked the best, added a watermark, and sent them over to Lin Jiej's WeChat. Isn't Yao Yao especially beautiful in the photos? Do you have the urge to remove the watermark and preserve it for a long time? I'm not an unreasonable person, so I won't do something like that. If you really want it, I can do it. 188 renminbi per photo. Seeing that Lin Jiej wasn't responding to her, Lin Jai pondered for 2 seconds before changing her phone's wallpaper to Shi Yao's photo, and sent it over to Lin Jiej. See, this can be used as my phone's wallpaper too. I'll be able to see Yao Yao as soon as I look at my phone. You're ignoring me? Does that mean that you don't want it? Alright then. Since you don't want to talk to me, I'll just delete all the photos. That way, I'll disappear from this world for good. It's rare for Yao Yao to put on makeup or wear a gown. It's rare for me to see such an exquisite Yao. It would be a pity to delete them. After sending the message, Lin Jai went to her photo album and selected all of Shi Yao's photos. After which, she sent the confirm deletion page over to Lin Jiej. I'm really deleting them. Don't regret it. After sending the message, Lin Jiej looked at his phone confidently and counted in his heart. 3 before he could even count to 1. A series of 188 RMBs had already appeared on her phone screen. Lin Jai's eyes gleamed as she received the red packets while counting the number of red packets. When she was done, she sent over a photo that had the same number of red packets and asked, "There are still 6 left. Are you sure you don't want them?" 30 seconds later, another 6 transfers of 188 yuan came in. After accepting the remaining 5 photos, Lin Jai sent them over to Lin Jiej and said, "I'm sorry, I counted wrongly just now. There are only 5 photos left. So take the last 188 renminbi as payment for my free Photoshop for Yao Yao's photos." "Thank you, boss." He had seen shameless people, but he had never seen such a shameless person. Lin Jiej sneered coldly in his heart. He was just about to reply to Lin Jai with a shameless, when before he could even touch his phone screen, he heard a familiar voice that left him feeling exceptionally uncomfortable. "Grandpa Lin, happy birthday. This is my birthday present for you." Instinctively, Lin Jiej raised his head to look in the direction of the voice. It was Liang Juxi's cousin. With a flattering smile on her face, she presented a gift box to her grandfather. "Grandpa Lin, I've picked this gift out for you. Do you like it?" As she said those words, Liang Juxi's cousin opened the gift box. To be honest, Lin Jiej really didn't care what gift Liang Juxi's cousin had prepared for him. So he quickly retracted his gaze and continued watching Shi Yao eat her cake. Chapter 388. But halfway through retracting his gaze, the gift that Liang Mumu took out from the corner of his eyes caught his attention. Liang Mumu's birthday present for his grandfather was also an inkstone. That inkstone was extremely similar to the one he had specially picked out for Soft Bun. To be more precise, if one didn't take a closer look, The resemblance between the two was as high as 100%. Lin Jiej's gaze couldn't help but turn back to Liang Mumu. Liang Mumu took the inkstone with both hands and passed it over to Grandpa Lin. Then with the same obedient and sweet tone as before, she said, "Grandpa Lin, I didn't intend to give you this gift from the very start because it clashed with Yao Yao's gifter Yao, who was engrossed in eating her cake, absent-mindedly raised her head upon hearing her name, and she stared blankly at Liang Mumu and Grandpa Lin. Grandpa Lin, I didn't mean to clash my gift with Yao's." Liang Mumu seemed to be placed in a difficult position. Halfway through her words she abruptly paused. A moment later she spoke up once more. "But Grandpa Lin, I still have to apologize to you. I hope that you won't take it to heart." Seeing this, Lin Jiej couldn't help but click his tongue 3 times in his heart. Liang Juxi's cousin sure has good acting skills. Why doesn't she attend Beijing Film Academy instead? Oh, that's right. With her terrible grades, even if she were to become an art student, she probably wouldn't be able to get into Beijing Film Academy. On the other hand, Soft Bun, even though she got all her math questions wrong, she was still able to get into G University. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej turned to look at Shi Yao, only to see that the latter had actually stopped eating her cake and was staring at Liang Mumu. He couldn't help but frown. Then he reached out to push her head down and said softly, "Eat your food. Don't look around." Shi Yao pouted in response to Lin Jiej's actions, but she didn't retort. She picked up her fork and continued eating her cake. Why would I mind? After hearing Liang Mumu's words, Grandpa Lin was at a loss for words. Thus he turned to Liang Huiling and said, "Huiling, you've really taught Mumu well." Liang Huiling replied with a polite smile, "Don't mention it, Uncle Lin. Isn't it because Mumu likes you and is afraid that you'll be unhappy? She never acts like this at home." Old Master Lin smiled even more happily. No matter what the gift is, what's important is the thought. As he spoke, Grandpa Lin turned his gaze to Liang Mumu, ready to accept her gift. But barely after Grandpa Lin raised his hand a little, Shun Balian suddenly spoke up, "Grandpa Lin, Mumu isn't just sensible, she's way too sensible. You might not know this, but Mumu respects you from the bottom of her heart. She saw this inkstone when we went out to play during the spring festival. Back then she said that Grandpa Lin would like it, and she wanted to buy it as a birthday present for you. So, even if we were to bump into each other, it wouldn't be Mumu bumping into Yao Yao, but Yao Yao bumping into Yao." Liang Mumu suddenly spoke up sternly, interrupting Shun Balian's words. "Balian, stop talking. It's all in the past. What's the point of saying this now? Oh, so this is the highlight of the show. She's using someone else's mouth to hint that Soft Bun didn't put much thought into her gift and stole her idea? Then, she would pretend to not pursue the matter and pretend to be a good person." Chapter 389. Perhaps it was because Liang Juxi's cousin had mentioned the word Yao, but Shi Yao raised her head to look at the two of them once more. What was there to look at? Could they possibly be any better than me? Lin Jiej couldn't help but reach out to pat Shi Yao's cheeks lightly. "If you don't want to eat this cake, I'll eat it." Hearing that Lin Jiej was going to snatch her cake, Shi Yao immediately lowered her head, shielded the cake with her hands, and began wolfing down the cake. Looking at Shi Yao's adorable table manners, Lin Jiej's eyes softened a little. He stared at her for a while longer before he finally lifted his eyes to look at the scene at the side. Shun Balian looked indignant at Liang Mumu's rebuke. She still wanted to say something, but in consideration of Liang Mumu, she eventually relented in the end. Seeing that Shun Balian had gone silent, Liang Mumu reverted back to her sweet self. She looked at Grandpa Lin with a look that seemed as if she was trying to resolve the matter peacefully before continuing. "Grandpa Lin, don't listen to Balian's nonsense. I bought this inkstone during the spring festival, and I was intending to give it to you as a birthday present. However, I believe that Yao Yao isn't like what Balian said, intentionally bumping into my birthday present. Liang Mumu's acting as a good person really made him wish that he could buy a whole car of good person cards for her. Wait, no, it should be fake good person cards." Lin Jiej really couldn't stand watching Liang Mumu's performance anymore. He was just about to retract his gaze to look at Shi Yao when Grandpa Lin spoke up. "Mumu, I know what you're saying even without you saying it. I know what kind of person Yao Yao is, and there's no way that she's intentionally bumping into your birthday present. It's clearly a coincidence." Hearing those words from his grandfather, Lin Jiej nearly burst into laughter. Grandpa, do you really have to ruin the show like that? She's clearly trying her best to hint at something, so how can you continue with your act? With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej reluctantly turned to look at Liang Mumu. As expected, the smile on Liang Mumu's face became a little less natural than before. Even her voice seemed to waver a little as she said, Grandpa Lin, you're right. Yao Yao isn't that kind of person. Actually, I only learned that Yao Yao was going to give you an inkstone a month ago. I wanted to change the present I gave you, but I haven't been able to find a suitable one, so I could only give you the same one. It's fine. Grandpa Lin replied as he took the inkstone from Liang Mumu's hands. After which, he lowered his head to take a look at it before replying, not bad, out of politeness and perfunctorily. After which, he passed the inkstone over to Auntie's son, gesturing for her to keep it. Compared to when Shi Yao had passed him the inkstone earlier, Grandpa Lin's current attitude was worlds apart. The displeasure and indignation in her heart made Liang Mumu grip her clothes tightly. She tilted her head slightly to look at the inkstone that Grandpa Lin had placed on the table, and she pursed her lips tightly before shooting Shun Balian a meaningful glance. Sensing Liang Mumu's hint, Shun Balian suddenly exclaimed in astonishment. Her voice was so loud that everyone in the first 2 rows of the banquet hall could hear her. Am I seeing things? The inkstone that Mumu gave Grandpa Lin is identical to the one that Yao Yao gave him? Chapter 390. She raised the inkstone to her eyes and examined it closely. Eventually, she brought it over to the inkstone Shi Yao had given her on the dining table and exclaimed, Ah, these 2 inkstones are really identical. If that's the case, there's no doubt that one of them is the real one and the fake one. But Mumu, I was right in front of you when you bought the inkstone. You spent over 300,000 renminbi on it, so it's definitely the real deal. So, did Yao Yao give a fake to Grandpa Lin on his birthday? Grandpa Lin likes her so much, but she actually gave him a fake one? Furthermore, she's the fiancée of the Lin family, the future matriarch of the Lin family. To actually give her a fake, this is too. White Lotus. What are you talking about? Don't you know that this is Grandpa Lin's birthday party? Liang Mumu stomped her feet anxiously before reaching out to tug Shun Balian's sleeve in an attempt to stop her from spouting nonsense. Taking in this sight, Lin Jiej's expression turned a little cold. What are you pretending for? They had clearly agreed on this beforehand. If they really didn't want that White Lotus woman to say anything, they wouldn't have stopped her earlier. Why did they have to wait until everything was said before standing up to be the peacemaker? When Shun Balian fell silent, Liang Mumu discreetly shot a glance at Zhang Wangui. Just as she had expected, Zhang Wangui, who was a strong-willed and prideful woman, had a displeased expression on her face. She knew that she had achieved her goal and was secretly delighted. However, her expression was apologetic. Grandpa Lin, please don't be angry. I didn't know that this gift would be exactly the same. I only took a quick glance at Yao Yao's gift. I didn't think that it would be like this. White Lotus has always been straightforward with her words. Please don't take it to heart. I apologize on her behalf. Moreover, the most important thing about the gift is the thought. Yao Yao has always been filial to you. Even if she bought a fake inkstone, she didn't mean anything else. After all, her family's financial situation is limited. Grandpa Lin really didn't mind it at all. Even if Shi Yao were to give him something that cost a RMB, he would still be happy. However, Liang Mumu's words had revealed far too much information. Just now, Shun Balian was so excited that her voice was very loud, attracting the attention of many people. Now, because she was apologizing, her voice was very loud. Almost everyone at the banquet was attracted to her. As such, even though Liang Mumu's words seemed to be very appropriate, it ended up attracting quite a bit of discussion from the crowd. In the end, the inkstone that old Mr. Lin had placed on the table to show off is a fake. Isn't this granddaughter-in-law a little too immature? He actually gave a fake gift. Judging from Miss Liang's words, old Master Lin's granddaughter-in-law doesn't have a good family background. Why would old Master Lin choose such a granddaughter-in-law for his grandson? No matter what, they have to be well-matched in social status, right? As the discussions grew louder and louder, not only did Zhang Wangui's expression turn ugly, But even the other relatives of the Lin clan also looked embarrassed and displeased. At this moment, Shi Yao really couldn't bring herself to continue eating the cake anymore. Chapter 391. Just like what she had discussed with Leng Yuan, she thought that Liang Mumu was trying to tamper with the present she had bought. But from the looks of it, she was wrong. Or rather, she had underestimated Liang Mumu. From the start to the end, Liang Mumu had never thought of tampering with the inkstone she had bought. Liang Mumu knew that she was too poor to afford an expensive present, so she intentionally made use of her greatest weakness to lay a trap for her. It had to be said that Liang Mumu was indeed formidable. At the very least, her ploy had succeeded this time. How could an inkstone that she had bought with 200 renminbi be real? Most likely, Qin Iran was her informant when she appeared at the antique market back then, and Liang Mumu was probably there to ask the shop owner what kind of inkstone she had bought. On the other hand, Liang Mumu was using the appearance of the inkstone to buy the real one. In truth, Grandpa Lin wouldn't have minded whether she had bought a real inkstone or a fake one. Similarly, it wasn't too much for her to buy a fake inkstone either. It was just that she was the granddaughter-in-law of the Lin clan. Liang Mumu's actions had embarrassed the Lin clan. And the culprit who had embarrassed the Lin clan was her. If that was the case, Liang Mumu's ploy had really succeeded. The Lin clan would surely hate her to death. Even if Grandpa Lin, who doted on her, and Sis Jai, who had a good relationship with her, didn't mind it, the other members of the Lin clan might not. Putting aside the fact that her engagement with Lin Jiej was going to be annulled sooner or later, if she didn't, the Lin clan might very well cancel the engagement after this incident. But now that things had gotten to this point, the only thing she could do was apologize to Grandpa Lin. With such thoughts in mind, she turned to look at Grandpa Lin. She had clearly embarrassed the Lin clan and made Grandpa Lin's birthday unhappy, but there wasn't the slightest hint of blame in the depths of his eyes. Instead, they were filled with worry. She had always known that Grandpa Lin loved her from the bottom of his heart, but the sight before her still left her a little touched and a little sad. She squeezed the fork in her palm tightly and called out to Old Master Lin, "Grandpa Lin." But before she could even say "I'm sorry," Old Master Lin said, "Yao, it's fine. Grandpa doesn't lack money." Hearing Grandpa Lin's words, Lin Jai, who was seated beside Shi Yao, also chimed in, "That's right. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. What's important is the sincerity. Besides, let others say whatever they want. It's not our place to interfere, so it's fine, Yao." It would have been better if Grandpa Lin and Lin Jai hadn't said anything at all, but their words made Shi Yao feel even more guilty and sad. She lowered her eyelids slightly and moved her lips again. She wanted to say "I'm sorry," but just as she opened her mouth before she could say a word, a piece of cake was sent into her mouth. She was stunned for a moment before she slowly turned her head around, only to see Lin Jiej standing there, as if nothing had happened at all. Meeting her gaze, Lin Jiej explained nonchalantly, "The fruit on the cake won't taste good if it's left out for too long." After saying those words, he stabbed another piece of cake into Shi Yao's mouth. This time he raised his head to look at the people around him, who were either watching the show or watching the show. After Shi Yao finished the piece of cake that he had stabbed into her mouth, he casually asked, "How can you be so sure that Miss Liang's inkstone is real and Yao Yao's is fake?" Chapter 392. How can you be so sure that Miss Liang's inkstone is real and Yao Yao's is fake? Lin Jiej's question caused the entire banquet hall to fall silent, and many people's gazes fell upon him. Under everyone's gazes, Lin Jiej didn't show the slightest sign of nervousness. He continued staring at Shi Yao's side profile lazily, and after she swallowed the cake in her mouth, he picked up another piece and fed it to her mouth. Then with the same nonchalant tone as before, he asked, "Is it Miss Liang who swears that her inkstone is real, or is it Yao Yao who personally admits that her inkstone is fake?" Hearing those words, Lin Jai immediately snapped out of her daze and said, "Indeed, Jiej is right. The two inkstones do look similar, but we can't be sure which one is real and which one is fake. Why is everyone so adamant that Yao Yao's inkstone is fake?" That's right, Miss Lin's words do make sense. Indeed. Isn't it a little too careless to say that the Lin family's granddaughter-in-law's inkstone is fake without appraising it? Following Lin Jai's words, quite a few people also changed their tune. Hearing the whispers of the crowd, Lin Jiej couldn't help but curl his lips into a mocking smile. These spectators sure are amusing. Didn't they say that Soft Bun's inkstone was fake just a second ago? Why did they immediately change their tune after being reminded by me a second later? What's wrong with this world? Is it because Li Bai can't get big, or is Diaochan lacking in mana? Why is this world so weird? With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej fed Shi Yao another piece of cake. But barely after Shi Yao swallowed the cake, Shun Balian, who was standing beside Liang Mumu, suddenly spoke up. Is there even a need to ask whether the inkstone is real or not? Mumu spent 300,000 renminbi to buy it from an official source, so it has to be real. This time, before Lin Jiej could say anything, Lin Jai had already interjected. Does buying it from an official source mean that it's real? Besides, the authenticity of an item doesn't have much to do with its price, does it? There are plenty of people who spend a lot of money to buy fake products, so how do you explain that? Seemingly displeased by Lin Jai's words, Shun Balian opened her mouth, intending to refute her. But it was a pity that Lin Jiej didn't give her the opportunity to do so. He immediately spoke up. Sis, what you said is incorrect. If a person doesn't have the ability to discern the authenticity of an item, they would have to purchase it through the proper channels. Only those who do have the ability to discern the authenticity of an item would head to the market. At this moment, upon hearing Lin Jiej's words, Liang Mumu, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke up. That's right. I don't have the ability to verify the authenticity of these items, so when I bought the inkstone, I had to purchase it through a certified channel. Just whose side was that dog Lin Jiej on? Why are you helping Liang Mumu now? Having been held back, Lin Jai glared at Lin Jiej in displeasure. Sensing Lin Jai's killing intent, Lin Jiej continued feeding Shi Yao the cake with an impassive expression. When it came to acting, he had never been afraid of anyone. Wasn't it obvious that Liang Mumu had been led into a trap by him? Since the pit was already dug and the person was already inside, he could now start burying the pit. Chapter 393. I remember that Uncle Gu is an expert in appraising. I saw him on the guest list a while ago. May I know where he's seated today? Hearing those words, Lin Jiej craned his neck to scan the surroundings. I remember Uncle Gu being an expert in appraising. The person in charge of the guest list was Lin Jiej's aunt, Lin Gunan. Hearing Lin Jiej's doubt, she immediately replied, I know. He's at the first row by the window. Having already known where Uncle Gu was, Lin Jiej glanced in the direction his aunt had pointed out and acted as if he had seen the person he was looking for. A moment later, realization dawned on him and he said, I see Uncle Gu. Sis, it's more convenient for you over there, so may I trouble you to invite Uncle Gu over? Lin Jai replied readily, sure. Before she stood up, Lin Jai added, for Yao Yao's sake, I'm running an errand for you for free. If it had been any other time, I would have charged you a fee. Speechless, Lin Jiej's lips twitched, but he didn't say a word. To think that a money grubber could be to such an extent, it was truly frightening. It didn't take long for Lin Jai to invite Uncle Gu over. Uncle Gu had a close relationship with Lin Jiej's father, Lin Gubei. So he first greeted Grandpa Lin and exchanged a few pleasantries with Lin Gubei before getting straight to the point, asking if there was anything he needed help with. Lin Jiej first politely greeted Uncle Gu, before briefly explaining the situation to him. Finally, he got straight to the point. Uncle Gu, the reason why I invited you here is to have you appraise these two inkstones. Which one is the real one and which one is the fake? Hearing Lin Jiej's words, Shi Yao nearly choked on her cake. So, young Master Lin actually invited an expert over to appraise her inkstone? But her inkstone was probably just a blade of grass. And a blade of grass that cost 200 renminbi at that. Was young Master Lin really here to help her? Was he trying to harm her? With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao hurriedly swallowed the cake in her mouth and tried to stop him. It was one thing if he didn't appraise the inkstone, but if he were to appraise it for real, wouldn't she become a laughing stock? However, barely after Shi Yao said wait, Lin Jiej stuffed another piece of cake into her mouth and said, Uncle Gu, before you start appraising, I'll have to ask you to wait for a moment. As he spoke, he turned to Liang Mumu and asked, Miss Liang, may I know which inkstone you have? Liang Mumu pointed to her inkstone and said, It's this, Auntie Sun. Lin Jiej barely managed to utter those two words before he suddenly paused. Forget it, I think it's best not to call her Auntie Sunday. If Auntie Sun were to bring the inkstone over to Miss Liang, and the results of the appraisal didn't meet Miss Liang's expectations, Miss Liang might say that Auntie Sun had tampered with the inkstone and try to frame Miss Liang. If so, we'll be in deep trouble. So, Miss Liang, I think it would be best for you to carry your inkstone in your embrace. Remember to hold it tightly so that you don't drop it. Hearing Lin Jiej's sarcasm, Liang Mumu's face turned a little awkward, but she still picked up her inkstone. After confirming that there were no problems, Lin Jiej turned to Uncle Gu and said, Uncle Gu, I'll be troubling you then. Shi Yao's body shuddered. Do you really have to bring disaster upon us so quickly? Can't you at least give us a little buffer? Chapter 394. Who wants to eat cake? Who has the heart to eat cake? Shi Yao shook her head. I don't want to eat cake. I just want to. Before she could finish her words, Lin Jiej had already cut her off. It's a good thing that you don't want to eat it anymore. If you wanted to eat it again, I wouldn't have given it to you. Is there something wrong with this person's head? My main point isn't the first half of my sentence but the second half, alright? Shi Yao glared at Lin Jiej angrily. What I want to say has nothing to do with cake. What I want to say is, oh. Lin Jiej dragged out his words, as if he had figured out the reason behind it. I know what you want to say. You want to say thank you, right? Thank you? You look like thank you. Shi Yao felt that the upbringing she'd built up since young was about to be destroyed because of Lin Jiej. You want to thank me for feeding you cake, right? There's no need to thank me. Lin Jiej replied generously. Afraid that Shi Yao would really say something that she shouldn't have, he quickly added, To tell you the truth, the only thing I've taken the initiative to feed since I was young is a panda. What did he mean by that? Was he treating her like a panda? All of a sudden, Shi Yao didn't feel like talking to Lin Jiej anymore. She turned her head around to look at Lin Jiej. Is Soft Bun unhappy? Was there a problem with what I said earlier? Lin Jiej pondered over his words seriously for a moment before coming to a realization. He leaned in close to Shi Yao and whispered, What I said earlier wasn't treating you like a panda. I meant that you're just like a panda. You're the panda. You're just like a panda from head to toe. Shi Yao's head twisted even more violently. The only thing Lin Jiej could see was black hair and black hair. Without thinking too much into it, Lin Jiej continued speaking. Think about it, what are pandas? They're the country's treasures. As a patriot, feeding pandas is a patriotic act. The reason why I said that you're just like a panda isn't because you're a panda but because you're my... Before Lin Jiej could say the word treasure, he suddenly realized what he had just said and fell silent. Even though he didn't finish his words, Shi Yao could already guess what he was going to say. Her heart skipped a beat, and she couldn't help but lower her eyelids. The two of them stopped talking. The surroundings suddenly became even quieter. Everyone's attention was on Uncle Gu. After about 5 minutes, Uncle Gu took off his glasses after carefully examining the two inkstones. Lin Jiej anxiously asked Uncle Gu, What's the result of your appraisal? Uncle Gu wasn't in a hurry to respond to Lin Jiej's words. Out of respect, he greeted Old Master Lin first before picking up the inkstone Shi Yao had bought. With a curious look on his face he asked, Did Miss Shi buy this inkstone? Lin Jiej's words had thrown Shi Yao's mind into disarray, so she fell silent for a moment. Sitting beside her, Lin Jiej patted her head lightly and said, Panda, Uncle Gu is asking you a question. Who are you calling a panda? Chapter 395. Miss Shi, may I ask how much did you spend on this inkstone? Compared to Liang Mumu's 300,000 renminbi, her money really didn't seem to be worth mentioning at all. Shi Yao understood the principle of honesty, so even though she was placed in a difficult position, she still spoke the truth. I bought it with 200 renminbi. 200 renminbi? Uncle Gu was astonished. Clearly, he didn't believe Shi Yao's words at all. With a chuckle he said, Miss Shi, you must be joking with me. I'm afraid that you'll have to add at least 3 more zeros behind the 200 renminbi. right? 3 zeros. Wouldn't that be 200,000 renminbi? You must be joking. Her monthly living expenses were only 1,000 renminbi, so where did she get 200,000 renminbi from? Shi Yao shook her head and replied earnestly, no, I'm not joking, Uncle Gu. I really bought it with 200 renminbi. Uncle Gu stared at Shi Yao for a moment, and knowing that she wasn't joking with him, he continued, then Miss Shi, if I may be so bold as to ask you, where did you buy it from? Oh. Compared to how much it cost, this question was much easier to answer. Without any hesitation, Shi Yao replied, I bought it from an antique market. I picked it up from a random shop. Antique market? Even though there were many people there, it was possible that those who were knowledgeable in the trade might be able to get their hands on some good stuff. Hearing those words, Uncle Gu seemed to have vaguely understood something, and he continued asking Miss Shi, do you have some understanding of appraising? After allowing Uncle Gu to ask a few more questions to Shi Yao, Lin Jiej finally got to the crux of the matter. Without waiting for Shi Yao to speak, he asked curiously, Uncle Gu, don't keep us in suspense. Why don't you get straight to the point? Indeed, little Gu, you should get straight to the point. Grandpa Lin also chimed in. Seeing that Grandpa Lin had spoken up, Uncle Gu didn't press Shi Yao any further. Instead, he turned to Grandpa Lin and explained, Miss Shi, this inkstone is a 1 in a million treasure. This is an inkstone that has been passed down from the Qing dynasty, and it has several hundred years of history. Hearing those words, Shi Yao thought that she was hallucinating. She blinked her eyes frantically, but the scenery around her hadn't changed at all. So she wasn't dreaming. Was she hallucinating? Shi Yao couldn't help but discreetly touch her ears. Following which, she heard Grandpa Lin's voice, Little Gu, does that mean that the birthday present Yao Yao gave me is the real deal? Of course, it's even more authentic than gold. The market value of this inkstone is at least $200,000. Furthermore, old Mr. Lin, look at the jade on this inkstone. It's clear and translucent. One look and you can tell that it's a superior product. 200,000. But Yao Yao said that she bought it with 200 renminbi. As Lin Jai spoke, she turned to Shi Yao and asked, Yao Yao, did you win the lottery behind our backs? Feeling as if she was dreaming, the dazed Shi Yao shook her head and replied, I didn't. I really spent 200 renminbi to buy it. That's why this is incredible. The antique market is a mystical place. Those who are knowledgeable about it are able to find priceless treasures at a very low price. Yet, Miss Shi managed to find a treasure worth $200,000 with just 200 renminbi. What does this mean? It means that Miss Shi is an expert in this field. Uncle Gu chimed in, and the more he spoke, the more agitated he became. Let me tell you, in the field of appraising, experience is the most important factor. This is the first time I've seen such an incredible appraiser at such a young age. Grandpa Lin. Chapter 396. Expert. Genius? Shi Yao felt as if she had just heard a heavenly book, and she felt even more lightheaded. Who is she? Where is she? What is she going through? I see. Grandpa Lin nodded calmly, but in the next second, he couldn't help but burst into laughter. Yao Yao has always been so formidable. She's always able to surprise me. Ha 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 ha. Uncle Gu. Grandpa Lin, congratulations on having such a formidable granddaughter-in-law. You're too kind. Grandpa Lin spoke as politely as he could, but there was a hint of pride in his eyes, as if saying that it was only natural. Seeing that Grandpa Lin and Uncle Gu had forgotten about the important matter at hand, Lin Jai hurriedly interjected, Uncle Gu, since the appraisal results for Yao Yao's inkstone are out, what about Miss Liang's? Her inkstone. Before Lin Jai could finish her words, Uncle Gu had already interjected, you mean the other inkstone? There's no need to appraise it at all. Anyone with the slightest bit of knowledge should be able to tell that it's a fake with a single glance. A fake? Liang Mumu, who had been confident all this while, suddenly exclaimed in astonishment, how is that possible? I spent 300,000 renminbi on it, how could it be a fake? Shi Yao was equally astonished. The inkstone that Liang Mumu spent 300,000 renminbi on was actually a fake? And the one she spent 200 renminbi on was a real one? Liang Mumu had intended to frame her, But she ended up going for wool and coming home shorn. Did she just get lucky? Did she just lie down and bully her? But it's a fake. Look at this inkstone. It looks very high-end, isn't it? But in truth, it's because the merchant had soaked it in oil beforehand to create a false impression. This isn't jade at all but a stone similar to jade. Uncle Gu explained to Liang Mumu's bewilderment. After saying those words, he turned to Grandpa Lin and asked, Grandpa Lin, I would like to speak with Miss Shur a little longer. May I know if that's all right? Grandpa Lin, of course. I'll be troubling you then. After exchanging some pleasantries with Grandpa Lin, Uncle Gu turned to Shur Yao and asked, Miss Shur, may I ask you where you learned your appraising skills from? Appraising skills? Who did you learn it from? She couldn't even learn ACFG and conic curves and radii. How could she have the leisure to appraise treasures? Besides, even if she really had the leisure, she wouldn't learn to appraise treasures. Treasures couldn't be eaten as food. As a qualified foodie, if she had the time, she would definitely learn to cook first. Did this Uncle Gu get bewitched or was he bewitched? All he asked was a bunch of random questions. Even though Shur Yao was grumbling in her heart, she still replied politely and honestly, Uncle Gu, I haven't learned anything in this field before. Never learned it before? How could this be? If he hadn't learned it before, how could he buy a premium item for 200 yuan? Uncle Gu pondered for a moment, and the only possibility he could think of was, so, Miss Shur is just a hobby? With that thought in mind, Uncle Gu turned to look at old Master Lin, who was standing at the side, and exclaimed in amazement, even an amateur can be so powerful. This means that he has extraordinary talent. Old Master Lin, this is not just a simple genius, this is a genius. Genius? Do. Shur Yao blinked her eyes in confusion. Chapter 397. Even though it was a joyous occasion to be complimented, Shur Yao still felt a little guilty. She couldn't help but speak up once more. Uncle Gu, I'm really just lucky. I was introduced to a shop by a friend, and I saw that the inkstone wasn't too bad. When I saw that it only cost 200 renminbi, I quickly paid for it and ran away with it. To buy an inkstone worth 200,000 renminbi for 200 renminbi, who would believe her if she said that she didn't know how to appraise it? Hearing Shur Yao's words, Uncle Gu thought that she was just being humble, and his respect for her deepened. Old Master Lin, youngsters these days are getting more and more prideful. It's rare to see someone as humble as your granddaughter-in-law. Furthermore, Miss Shur only treated it as paying for it before running away with it. This shows that she's decisive. Excuse me, you can be praised for being humble even if you speak the truth these days? How can you be praised for being decisive if you're afraid that the seller will go back on his words? Shur Yao's eyes blinked even more intensely. Who could tell her what kind of tricks Uncle Gu was playing? Or can someone tell me that my name is really Shur Yao and not Cheat? Hearing Uncle G's compliments, old Master Lin was even more delighted, and he couldn't stop smiling. Of course. Look at who's the one who decided to be his granddaughter-in-law. Grandpa Lin, calm down, don't get complacent, Shur Yao prayed in her heart, but it didn't work at all. Old Master Lin's compliments grew even louder. Little Gu, it's not that I want to brag, but Yao Yao has always been a good student, beautiful, considerate, and filial. She's truly a top-notch lady. Our Lin clan has really picked up a treasure. Hugging the inkstone that Uncle Gu had identified as a fake, Liang Mumu looked at old Master Lin's gleeful expression, then at the Lin clan's smiling face, and finally at Zhang Wangui's face. When she saw the usually unsmiling Zhang Wangui's lips curling up into a smile, she couldn't help but tighten her grip on the inkstone in her hands. She really spent 300,000 renminbi on this inkstone, so how could it possibly be fake? Also, that Gu fellow kept coming up with new ways to flatter Shur Yao. Could he possibly be in cahoots with Shur Yao? She was clearly trying to make Shur Yao struggle on her deathbed, so why did she end up in such a pathetic state instead? Hearing Grandpa Lin's arrogant words of vow, Liang Mumu's body trembled in anger. She did not believe that her inkstone was fake. It must be Gu Liangchuan who was lying. The more she thought about it, the more indignant Liang Mumu felt. Eventually, she couldn't help but interrupt Grandpa Lin's words. Mr. Gu, your reputation isn't just for show, is it? Hearing Liang Mumu's words, Uncle Gu was stunned for a few seconds before he turned to Liang Mumu with a frown and asked, Miss Liang, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? That's what it means. Due to her rage, Liang Mumu's words had become a little irrational. You took a casual glance at my inkstone and declared that it's a fake. Judging from your perfunctory attitude, could it be that you're trying to curry favor with the Lin clan by spouting such nonsense? Chapter 398. Let me tell you, the item you're carrying in your hands can easily be found in night markets, tourist attractions, wholesale markets, and the internet. What do you mean by 300,000 renminbi? It's only worth 30 renminbi at most, and if you were to purchase it, it would only cost you around 10 renminbi. Don't think that my words are harsh, but I'm just telling you the truth. Unlike antiques like porcelain or ancient paintings, there's no upper limit to the price of an inkstone. It's not that there aren't any valuable inkstones in the world, but they're simply too rare. 200,000 renminbi is already an astronomical sum for an inkstone. And yet, you actually spent 300,000 renminbi on it? It's not that I want to criticize you, but how lacking of common sense do you have to be to do something like that? Could it be that you intentionally made up a fake to fool me, and now that I've seen through it, you're trying to blame me instead? Also, you said that I have an undeserved reputation. Of all the people here, there should be quite a few of you who have heard of me, right? I'm sure that there are quite a few of you who have come to me to appraise an inkstone, right? Miss Liang, you weren't doubting me with your words earlier but flaunting your ignorance. There's a saying that goes, ignorance isn't scary. What's scary is pretending to be ignorant. In this aspect, Miss Liang, I advise you to learn from Miss Shi and learn to be humble and courteous. Faced with Uncle Ji's sharp tongue, Liang Mumu didn't even have a chance to speak. In the end, her face turned pale and green under Uncle Ji's words, and it was hard to tell whether it was out of anger or speechlessness. Having been watching the show by the side, Lin Jiej knew that the pit was almost filled up, so he finally spoke up. Uncle Gu, I'm really sorry. I only came here to invite you to appraise an inkstone, but I didn't think that I would offend you instead. Forget it, forget it. There's no need for me to bicker with a junior. If there's nothing else for me here, I'll be returning to my seat to drink some wine. Uncle Gu waved his hand and left. But barely after taking 2 steps, Uncle Gu suddenly halted. There's something that I know isn't the right time to say, but after some thought, I still decided to say it. It's not that I'm trying to stir up trouble, but the real Miss Shi hasn't said a word at all. On the other hand, the fake Miss Liang has been incessantly stirring up trouble before I appraise it. After saying those words, Uncle Gu turned around and walked away. None of the people present were fools. Earlier, perhaps some of them hadn't thought too much about it. But now that Uncle Gu had pointed it out, everyone thought about the cause and effect, and gradually came to their senses. It would have been better if Mr. Gu didn't mention it. Now that you mention it, it's really scary. Miss Liang is so young, but she is so scheming. She clearly wants to make the Lin family's granddaughter-in-law a joke. Unfortunately, she shot herself in the foot. In the end, she became the laughingstock. Listening to the discussions around him, Old Master Lin's expression became a little displeased. After all, he was the founder of Lin's enterprise and his aura was still there. Usually, he looked happy like a kind old man, but when he was serious, he was full of courage. Huiling, you taught a good child. Chapter 399. Lin Jiej's aunt, Lin Gunan, interjected, Madame Liang, it's your responsibility to discipline them, so there's no need for you to tell us about it. You can just do it at home. As for paying us a visit to apologize, there's no need for you to do so. I doubt that my father, my elder brother, my sister-in-law, and my niece-in-law will be willing to accept your apology. Gunan is right. Jiang Wangue, who hadn't said a word since the beginning, finally spoke up. My Lin family's reputation isn't something that anyone can hit just because they want to. After doing so, they just need to apologize. Liang Huiling smiled apologetically and said, Yes, yes, yes. Sister Wangue and Sister Gunan are right. This matter is too embarrassing. I'll discipline Mumu strictly when I get back. I hope you can calm down. Besides, today is Uncle Lin's birthday, so we should celebrate it happily. There's no need to make such a big fuss over such a small matter, don't you think? Small matter? Bullying Soft Bun is a small matter? Then may I ask, what is a major event? A hint of displeasure flashed across the depths of Lin Jiej's eyes, but before anyone could speak up, he pretended to casually speak up. Auntie Liang, it seems like you really treat Miss Liang as your own daughter. Not only did you give her a huge sum of money, you even taught her not to do anything wrong. Following Lin Jiej's words, the crowd began whispering among themselves once more. Oh my God! Isn't Miss Liang the biological daughter of the Liang family? Don't you know? She calls Liang Huiling auntie. She's not really the daughter of a rich family. She was adopted because her parents died early. Oh my God, I'm speechless. She's not even her biological daughter. How could she have the nerve to spend hundreds of thousands on a birthday present? Hearing the discussions around her, Liang Mumu's complexion turned even more awful. On the other hand, a satisfied smile curled up on Lin Jiej's lips. Didn't you just say that Soft Bun's family background is limited, thus causing Soft Bun to be criticized for her poor background? All right then, I'll give you a taste of your own medicine and let everyone know that you're not the biological daughter of the Liang clan at all. She said it as if no one would lie to him. What was this called? The heavens would deal with the scum. I'm Soft Bun's sky. I'll take care of all the despicable people around her. However, Liang Huiling was right about one thing. Today was Grandpa's birthday. Grandpa's happiness came first. In many things, one should know when to stop before going too far. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej suddenly thought of something, and he asked, speaking of which, don't you usually give someone a birthday present in return? Auntie's son, who was in charge of returning the gifts, replied, yes, young master. Miss Liang and Miss Shun have both given my grandfather a birthday present. Even though it was such an unpleasant incident, I still have to return the favor. As Lin Jiej spoke, he fell into deep thought. A moment later, he spoke up once more. Auntie's son, get the driver to buy a box of green tea from the supermarket to return the favor to Miss Liang. As for Miss Shun, haven't the lotuses in our backyard bloomed over the past few days? Ask the driver to pick one and give it to Miss Shun as a gift. Remember, it must be a white lotus, the whiter the better. Green tea lotus flower. This was clearly a roundabout way of scolding people as green tea bitches and white lotus flowers. Sure, Yao couldn't help but turn to look at Lin Jiej. Poison. This is way too poisonous. Everyone else in the room also caught the hint in Lin Jiej's words, and quite a few of them couldn't help but burst into laughter. This left Liang Mumu and Shun Balian even more embarrassed. Alright, that's all for this matter. Lin Gubei, who hadn't stopped Lin Jiej all this while, finally stepped forward to speak up. He shot a glance at Liang Mumu and Shun Balian, and with a relatively normal tone he said, the two of you should return to your seats too. Wait a moment. Lin Jai, who hadn't spoken a word yet, suddenly spoke up. Her words had drawn quite a few gazes in her direction. As if she didn't notice the gazes directed at her, she turned her gaze back to Liang Mumu and Shun Balian and said, you can return to your seats, but before that, there's something you have to do. As she spoke, she shifted her gaze to Shi Yao and said, and that is to apologize to Yao. Liang Mumu and Shun Balian stood on the spot, not saying a word for a long time. Roughly half a minute later, Lin Jai seemed to have lost her patience and spoke up once more, apologize. The two of them still didn't say a word. Frowning, Lin Jai repeated once more, apologize. Apologize to Yao. Liang Mumu pursed her lips, not saying a word. Shun Balian turned her head away, but she didn't say a word. Lin Jai abruptly stood up, raised her hand, and smashed it heavily on her chair. Following which, a crack appeared on the chair, and Lin Jai's deep voice sounded once more. I said, apologize. Chapter 400. Lin Jai's actions were too sudden and too explosive. Other than the dignified and virtuous Zhang Wangui, who was sipping on his tea, and Lin Jiej, who was already used to it, everyone else was shocked by Lin Jai's actions. This was especially so for Liang Mumu and Shun Balian. Their bodies trembled in fear, and their faces paled a little. Jai, look at how they're so frightened that they can't even speak. Is this all right? I'll apologize. As Liang Mumu's aunt, Liang Huiling was still a little protective of her. After recovering from the shock brought by Lin Jai, she immediately spoke up. But halfway through her words, Lin Jai's cold voice suddenly sounded in her ears. Are you her? Liang Huiling was rendered speechless by Lin Jai's words. Aunt Liang, what I want is for Liang Mumu and that unknown person to apologize. As Lin Jai spoke, her gaze turned to Liang Mumu and Shun Balian. There's a limit to my patience. I'll say it one last time. As those words left her mouth, Lin Jai's hands clenched into fists, and with the cracking of her bones she squeezed another word out of her mouth. Dao. Before Lin Jai could finish her words, Shun Balian had already shrieked, I'll apologize, I'll apologize. Don't hit me, don't hit me. As she spoke, Shun Balian turned to Shi Yao and said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Lin Jai didn't think much of Shun Balian at all. Seeing that the latter had apologized, she cursed idiot in her heart before turning her gaze to Liang Mumu and said, It's your turn now. Liang Mumu pursed her lips, not saying a word. Lin Jai frowned. Her exquisite face was filled with anger, as if her patience had run out. However, before she could flare up, Liang Mumu had already turned to look at Shi Yao. She glared at Shi Yao with hatred in her heart, but at the same time, she was also terrified of Lin Jai. It took a lot of effort for her to force herself to say two words, I'm sorry. Who are you apologizing to? Lin Jai frowned in dissatisfaction. Me? My grandfather? My mother? My aunt? My brother? Could it be Sister Zhang? Liang Mumu's eyes reddened from Lin Jai's rebuke. She clenched her fists tightly as she stared at Shi Yao silently for a moment before saying, Yao, I'm sorry. Is Yao Yao something you can call? Lin Jai was still dissatisfied with Liang Mumu's apology, so she picked on her words once more. Liang Mumu's complexion turned even more awful. Under the gazes of so many people, she couldn't hold back her tears any longer, and tears welled up in her eyes. Her lips quivered, and it was only when the tears blurred her vision and she couldn't see Shi Yao anymore did she finally move her lips and say, Miss Shi, I'm sorry. Satisfied, Lin Jai turned her gaze away from Liang Mumu and Shun Balian and sat back down on her chair. It was only after she sat down that she realized that Shi Yao was staring at her with widened eyes. Chapter 401. Sis Jai, I'm not a well-educated person, so please don't lie to me. Shi Yao looked at Lin Jai's beautiful and slender hands before turning to look at the chair Lin Jai was sitting on. And in disbelief she asked, Is that the case? Isn't that the case? Lin Jai replied with a question of her own, but at the same time, she also felt that her excuse wasn't as reasonable as it seemed. That doesn't seem to be the case. However, Yao, I'm not usually like this. It's just that my period is coming. Speaking up to this point, Lin Jai suddenly felt that her excuse couldn't have been better. How you should know that. You'll feel a little irritable at times like this. Women are always like this for a few days every month. A glint of agreement flashed across the depths of Shi Yao's eyes as she said, Me too. Every time it happens, I'll feel inexplicably unhappy. Usually as long as I eat something I'll feel blissful. But during those few days no matter how much I eat I'll still feel a heavy weight in my heart, making me feel really uncomfortable. Lin Jai quickly went along with the topic and asked, Yao, which days have you been feeling unwell? Seated by the side, Lin Jiej had overheard the conversation between the two ladies. Were all girls' conversations like this? Didn't they say that they were going to talk about Lin Jai's rudeness? Why did it suddenly turn into her period? Also, Lin Jai actually asked Soft Bun when she felt uncomfortable. Is she asking when Shi Yao's period is? It's best if I don't listen to this kind of private conversation between girls, alright? With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej shifted his gaze away with a reddened face to look out the window. However, his body was clearly inching closer to Shi Yao. Me? Shi Yao tilted her head to the side and pondered for a moment. It should be soon. It's usually on the 28th or 29th of the month. It's just a few days away, then you'll have to keep warm for the next few days. Try not to blow on the air conditioner too much. If you catch a cold you'll get a stomachache. Also, remember to drink some brown sugar water when you feel uncomfortable in the next few days. It's best if you don't eat cold and spicy food. It'll make you feel better. Oh, and don't overwork yourself. Listening to Lin Jai's gentle reminder, Lin Jiej's eyebrows knitted together. There were actually so many rules and regulations when a girl was feeling unwell? Lin Jiej pondered for a moment before he picked up his phone, tapped open his notebook and began typing. After memorizing everything that Lin Jai had said, he turned his attention back to the conversation between the two ladies. The topic had changed from menstruation to television dramas. Women sure are fickle. Lin Jiej couldn't help but mutter in his heart. Chapter 402. Lin Jai had always been a man of her word. A second after she made up her mind, she grabbed her bag, stood up and said, "Take good care of Yao," to Lin Jiej before leaving in a hurry. Lin Jai drank a little, so she didn't drive to the company herself. Instead, she called for her chauffeur to wait for her at the entrance of Beijing World Hotel. It was already close to 9 at night, but the traffic was still a little congested in this bustling area. In order to pass the time, Lin Jai sat in the backseat and fiddled with her phone. Not too long later, a notification suddenly popped up on her phone, indicating that it was low on battery. She passed her phone to the chauffeur to charge it, and with nothing to do, she wound down the car window. There were many pedestrians by the roadside, and there were quite a few couples strolling intimately together. When passing by the overhead bridge, she could also see some people setting up stalls, selling all kinds of accessories, and smoking barbecue. Lin Jai stared at the scenery outside the car window for a long while before she suddenly realized that it had been a very, very long time since she last walked through such a down-to-earth night market. The traffic finally improved a little, and the car was no longer stationary. However, it was still moving at a very slow pace. After walking for a very long time, Lin Jai suddenly saw a young man dressed in a white shirt riding by the roadside on a bicycle. The night breeze was a little strong, causing his white shirt to flutter about. Lin Jai stared at the figure for a very long time, and the more she looked at it, the more familiar she found it. All of a sudden she exclaimed in shock, "Stop the car!" The chauffeur slammed on the brakes. "Young miss," before the chauffeur could finish his words, Lin Jai had already pushed open the car door, jumped down and chased after the young man on the bicycle. She was wearing high heels, so it wasn't convenient for her to run. The road was a little uneven, and in a moment of carelessness, she twisted her ankle. It wasn't serious, but it still hurt a little. She hurriedly took off her shoes, lifted her elegant dress, and chased after the young man. No matter how fast Lin Jai ran, she couldn't outrun the bicycle. It was fortunate that there was a crossroad ahead, and the bicycle came to a stop at a red light. Panting heavily, Lin Jai ran up to the bicycle, and without even daring to catch her breath, she abruptly reached out and grabbed the white-shirt young man sitting on the bicycle. Chin ting! The boy in white turned around in astonishment. His eyes met Lin Jai's, and it took a long while before he finally spoke up. "Is there anything I can help you with?" Lin Jai didn't say a word. Instead, she stared fixedly at the man before her. The red light ahead turned green, and the young man who was in a hurry to leave saw Lin Jai tugging at his clothes. So he spoke up once more. "Young mistress, I'm sorry, may I ask?" This time, before he could finish his words, Lin Jai had already recovered from her daze. She quickly let go of the man's clothes and apologized. "I'm sorry, I mistook you for someone else." "It's okay." The boy replied politely and left on his bicycle. Soon, his figure disappeared into the crowd. But Lin Jai was still standing on the spot. Cars hurried to and fro around her, but Lin Jai maintained her previous posture, not moving in the slightest. Yes, she had mistaken him for someone else. How could it be him? That person just now was just a little bit similar to the person in her memory. He was the biggest liar in the world. He promised to accompany her for a lifetime, but he left her. Chapter 403. Young Miss. "Miss Jai?" The chauffeur walked up to Lin Jai and greeted her respectfully a few times before Lin Jai snapped out of her daze. She glanced at the chauffeur silently. The chauffeur picked up a pair of shoes and placed them before Lin Jai. "Miss Jai, here are your shoes." Lin Jai still didn't say a word. Instead, she stepped into the shoes and walked over to the car. The chauffeur quickly followed behind her and opened the car door for her. Lin Jai bent down and got into the car. By the time the chauffeur got into the car, Lin Jai had already reverted back to the arrogant and domineering young miss of the Lin family. It was as if the helpless and dazed look she had felt earlier was just a figment of her imagination. After passing the intersection ahead, the road suddenly cleared up. Soon, the car arrived at the entrance of the Lin family enterprise. Upon seeing the car, the security guard immediately ran over and opened the door for her. Lin Jai told the chauffeur, "You can return to the hotel first, before getting out of the car." Ignoring the security guard's greeting, she walked straight into the building. Grandpa Lin's birthday banquet started early, but it didn't end early either. After sending off the guests one after another, the banquet hall was empty except for a few relatives of the Lin family. Lin Jai, who had been gone for more than 2 hours, still hadn't returned. While Shi Yao was heading to the washroom, she called Lin Jai for the 3rd time. Just when she thought that the call would be the same as before and no one would pick up, it was picked up. "Yao Yao?" Hearing Lin Jai's voice, Shi Yao's heart finally calmed down. "Sis Jai, Grandpa Lin's birthday banquet is almost over. Are you still coming over?" "Oh, I nearly forgot. Yao Yao, I'm really sorry, but something came up at the last minute, so I won't be able to make it. I'll send the chocolates to your school tomorrow if I'm free. If not, I'll get my secretary to send them over." Lin Jai's voice was as gentle as ever, but for some reason Shi Yao felt that something was amiss. She frowned and replied, "It's fine, Sis Jai." A moment later, she couldn't help but ask worriedly, "Sis Jai? Are you all right?" "I'm fine. Of course I'm fine. What could possibly happen to me? I'm busy earning money." Lin Jai chuckled softly on the phone. So she had been thinking too much. "All right then. Sis Jai, I won't disturb you any longer. You should get back to what you were doing." "Okay, Yao Yao, my little darling. Moi, goodbye." Shi Yao replied with a soft goodbye before hanging up the call. She put away her phone, tidied herself up, and walked out of the bathroom. She stood in front of the basin and had just turned on the tap when the bathroom door that she had just closed opened again. Hearing the commotion, Shi Yao instinctively raised her head to look at the entrance of the washroom through the mirror. It was Liang Mumu. Her complexion didn't look good. Perhaps because she had been crying, the meticulous makeup on her face had been ruined. The mascara around her eyes was dyed black. She saw her too, looked at her for a moment, and then, as if she were a stranger, walked up to her and turned on the faucet next to hers. Shi Yao also felt that there was nothing much for her to say to Liang Mumu, so she calmly washed her hands before turning around to leave. But barely after taking a few steps, Liang Mumu suddenly called out to her, "Shi Yao?" Chapter 404. But barely after she took a few steps, Liang Mumu suddenly called out to her, "Shi Yao?" Why did she suddenly call out to me? Shi Yao was perplexed, but her footsteps showed no signs of slowing down at all. "Shi Yao." Liang Mumu spoke up once more, but this time, her voice was much higher than before. "Don't misunderstand. I didn't mean anything by calling out to you." Following Liang Mumu's words, Shi Yao could hear the sound of her high heels hurriedly stepping on the ground. Shi Yao knew that Liang Mumu had caught up to her. A slight frown appeared on her forehead as she hastened her footsteps. "Does she think that I'm someone she can catch up to just because I want to? Besides, I don't want to hear it even if I want to." "Shi Yao, why are you running? Or are you afraid that I'll hit you?" "Are you afraid that I'll hit you?" Liang Mumu asked. In the past, she didn't think that there was anything wrong with Liang Mumu's head. But now she realized that her intelligence was really lacking. Could it be that Liang Mumu had really treated her as a friend in the past, and as a result she thought that she was doing the right thing no matter what she did? With this thought in mind, Shi Yao hastened her footsteps even more. "Shi Yao, I swear that I won't hit you. Are you done yet? Do you really think that I'm afraid that I'll hit you?" Shi Yao didn't turn around, and her footsteps didn't stop either. Instead she replied, "I'm afraid that I'll hit you." It was hard to tell whether Liang Mumu was angered by Shi Yao's words or that she really thought that she wouldn't be able to catch up to her anymore. But she went straight to the point. "Shi Yao, the reason why I called out to you is to tell you a secret. And that secret is..." As the latter secret slipped out of her mouth, Shi Yao replied with a hint of mockery in her voice, "Liang Mumu, where do you get the confidence that I'll believe you?" As she spoke, Shi Yao's footsteps came to a halt as she turned around to look at Liang Mumu. Compared to the ridiculousness she had felt earlier, her expression was much more solemn. Liang Mumu, I won't believe you even if there are 10 or 100 secrets between us, let alone a single one. Don't think that I don't know that the secret you mentioned earlier is just to sow discord between us. Do you really think that I'm a fool who only knows how to eat? Shi Yao paused for a moment before continuing, perhaps if not for today's matter, I might still have some feelings for you. But right now, you're nothing more than a fleeting cloud to me. I don't believe you. It's not that you're trying to harm me. It's just that I'm unable to forgive you for what you did during Grandpa Lin's birthday banquet. Grandpa Lin treated me well, but he treated you well as well. You're clearly an ungrateful, cold-blooded, and heartless person. Having said all that she needed to say, Shi Yao didn't show any signs of staying any longer. She simply turned around and left. Perhaps Liang Mumu still had something to say to her, but she really wasn't interested in listening to it anymore. At the same time, on the first floor of the Beijing World Hotel, Lin Jiej was personally sending Uncle Gu off. Uncle Gu, thank you so much for today. There's no need for you to stand on ceremony with me. Back then you were the one who helped me obtain a painting that caught my eye. I already owe you a favor, and I promised you that if you ever need my help in the future, I'll do my best to help you. At this point, Uncle Gu suddenly burst into laughter. It's just that I didn't think that you would ask me for help in the end just to put in a few words for Miss Shi. You've really made a huge loss this time. Chapter 405. Not to mention he was helping Softbun this time around. Not only did he not feel like he was making a loss, he even felt like he had profited greatly. What was that saying again? Even 1,000 gold coins couldn't buy Softbun's happiness. As long as he could make Softbun happy, he was willing to spend even 10,000 gold coins. This is the first time I've seen you so concerned about a girl. Back then when you were young you would talk to all the boys around you, but no matter how hard we tried to coax you, you wouldn't open your mouth to speak to a girl. Back then your father and I were worried that there might be something wrong with you, that you preferred boys over girls. Your grandmother was still alive back then, and she would hug you and show you the photos of those female celebrities. Lin Jiej was rendered speechless. So, it turned out that his childhood had been so tragic? Alright, it's getting late, so let's not talk about this anymore. I hope that the next time I see you, I'll hear about your marriage with Miss Shi. I like those words. Lin Jiej's speechless frown immediately smoothed out. Uncle Gu, I'll be counting on your blessings. After saying those words, he even opened the car door for Uncle Gu. After Uncle Gu got into the car and left, he returned to the hotel. Lin Jiej was intending to head straight to the second floor to look for Shi Yao, but just as he was about to reach the elevator, he inadvertently saw a familiar figure at the entrance of the first floor bathroom. It was Liang Juicy. With a cigarette in his hand, he was chatting with a beautiful young lady. Both of them were holding onto their phones, and it seemed like they were exchanging phone numbers. Hey, you're still in the mood to flirt? Lin Jiej's footsteps suddenly came to a halt. He turned around and began walking toward Liang Juicy. Just as Liang Juicy was about to grab the phone number, he suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. He instinctively turned around, only to see Lin Jiej walking toward him with a cold expression on his face. Liang Juicy's hand trembled in fright, and his phone fell to the ground. Without any hesitation he bent down to grab his phone, and without even checking to see if it was damaged, he immediately ran away. Lin Jiej also hastened his footsteps. Liang Juicy pushed open a door and dived in, only to realize that it was a staircase. He desperately tried to block the door, but he was no match for Lin Jiej's strength. Before the door could be pushed open, he had already begun running up the stairs. In the end, he barely made it 2 floors before Lin Jiej knocked him out. Big bro, I was wrong. With nowhere to run, Liang Juicy immediately began to beg for mercy. Big bro, you can hit me, but can you not hit my face? I rely on my face to make a living. Whoa, I already told you not to hit my face, so why did you have to hit my face instead? You're robbing me of my chance to be a handsome man. Brother, I really don't know what Mumu has done. Ouch. Liang Mumu. Hero, please show some mercy. I'll give you all the erotic comics I've collected. It's fine if you don't want them, but why are you hitting me harder? It hurts, it really hurts. I swear that I'll discipline Liang Mumu harshly when I get home. No, I'll have my parents take away her financial freedom. Is that not enough? Then I'll trick my parents into sending her to my hometown. That should be fine, right? If she goes back to her hometown, she won't be able to do it anymore. Chapter 406. If that's still not enough, I'll give that little fiancé of yours a huge present. Lin Jiej was just about to stop when he heard that Liang Mumu would be sent back to her hometown, but upon hearing the latter half of Liang Juxi's words, he couldn't help but raise his fist once more. Is this how you give yourself away? With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej said, I want potato chips. No problem. Putting potato chips aside, I'll have yogurt, pudding, jelly, Oreos, white rabbit creamy candy, QQ candy, beef jerky. I have everything you need. And so, Liang Juxi finally escaped death. After Grandpa Lin's birthday celebration, Shi Yao placed all of her attention on her final exams. It was only when the final exams were over that Shi Yao finally logged into the game. Coincidentally, before she could even head to the Sexy and Frisky group to ask who was playing, she saw 111,111 who was online, and he even invited her to join his team. Shi Yao accepted the invitation. After entering the room, before she could say a word, Mr. Number's voice sounded in her earpiece, You're free. Shi Yao knew that he was referring to the end of her final exams. A week before the final exams, she had told him that she would be taking a break from the game for the time being in order to revise for the time being. I'm free. Shi Yao paused for a moment before continuing. Aren't you taking your final exams for the next 2 days just like me? Are you not free yet? Me? Mr. Numbers asked doubtfully. He started the game, and after entering the game Spawn Island, he continued, It's not the exam that freed me but me. Playing games every day and still being able to study well? Who are you trying to fool? With such a thought in mind, Shi Yao asked, You must have written some nonsense to free yourself from the exam, right? You must be joking. Mr. Numbers chuckled softly before replying haughtily, I'm the correct answer. The correct answer? I'm the teacher who sets the questions. Shi Yao grabbed a piece of beef jerky and stuffed it into her mouth. You're really fat. It's a pity that it's only limited to the U in your mouth. 111111. I'm really not lying to you. I'm the answer. If I'm different from the answer, then the answer must be wrong. In order to prevent Mr. Numbers from boasting too much, Shi Yao chose to remain silent. 111111 said as he leaped out of the plane with Shi Yao and flew toward Jorgapal. I'm really not exaggerating, but back in high school I had to keep my eyes closed the entire time. As soon as I opened my eyes, the teacher would ponder for 3 seconds before saying that he had misspoken. Yes, you're not exaggerating. You're just boasting rhythmically. Just that, I wonder if Mr. Numbers would catch my chin when he's bragging. If he were to accidentally blow his chin off, wouldn't it shatter the floor? Seeing that her silence wasn't enough to stop less than 111,111 from bragging, Shi Yao could only change the topic and say, Oh right, there's something that I almost forgot. Do you still remember the friend you introduced to me when I was going to the antique market? As Shi Yao said those words, she and Mr. Numbers landed on the ground. Mr. Numbers casually shattered a pane of glass, and with a wall of sound he entered the room. Then, his voice sounded in Shi Yao's ears, I remember. Before Shi Yao could say anything, Mr. Numbers had already asked, What's wrong? Chapter 407. Less than 111,111. If you don't believe me, why are you still saying it? Shi Yao. What should I do? I really want to sew Mr. Numbers' venomous mouth shut. 111,111. But I like to hear things that people don't believe. Shi Yao. So, I was the one who misunderstood Mr. Numbers, and he wasn't speaking ill of me? Less than 111,111. Hurry up and tell me. Mr. Numbers seemed to be quite curious about it. It seemed like she had really misunderstood him. Only then did Yao speak up. I bought an inkstone from the shop you recommended. Do you know how much it cost? On the other end of the game, Lin Jiej heard Yao's question and instinctively wanted to reply, 200. But before he could say anything, he heard Yao's voice once more. You'll never guess it. What kind of joke is this? I'm the one who set the price for the inkstone, how could I not know? However, Lin Jiej quickly swallowed the 200, that was on the verge of blurting out, 50,000? Yao. As expected of a tycoon. 10,000 right off the bat. Lin Jiej silently sang in his heart, I'll act as if I don't see anything when I'm supposed to play along with you. Then he asked, 5,000? Yao. That's my living expenses for a semester. How should I act in order to play along with you? Lin Jiej silently sang in his heart once more. She was the one who asked him to guess, so why did he end up getting choked by her? Women sure are willful. But then again, I'm willing to play along with her. Lin Jiej continued guessing, 3,000? 1,800? 1,000? 800, forget it. I knew you wouldn't be able to guess it. As if presenting a treasure, Yao continued, actually, I only spent 200 renminbi on it. Oh, that price sure is unbelievable. Even though Lin Jiej's words were filled with excitement, he maintained a calm expression on his face as he sniped down a person. Yao, you can't believe it? Then what happens next will shock you to death. Do you know how much that 200 yuan inkstone is actually worth? I know, but it's because I love you that I chose to perform this kind of help. After silently singing this line, Lin Jiej asked how much. He thought that Yao would ask him to make a guess like before, but who could have thought that the young lady would excitedly tell him the price right away? 200,000. This isn't going according to the script. Lin Jiej pondered for a moment before replying, impressive. It was hard to tell whether it was due to Zuen's compliment, but Yao's next words sounded very gleeful and boastful, isn't that so? I also think I'm amazing. He bought an inkstone worth 200,000 yuan with 200 yuan. Who can do it? I suspect that I'm a cheat. Life with cheats is just so valiant. As long as you're happy, you're good looking, so whatever you say is right. In any case, as someone who knows the truth, I'll remain silent and not tell you that your cheat is Lin Jiej. Lin Jiej didn't interrupt her. Oh, Sai, there's nothing I can do about it. I was born with divine luck and I can't even block it. Aren't you envious? Following behind Lin Jiej, Yao staggered toward the safe zone with a gun in her hand as she continued to speak proudly. However, before she could finish her words, a notification suddenly popped up on her phone. While controlling the direction, she accidentally tapped on it, and she saw a video. Chapter 408. Yao was very familiar with the person in the video, so she couldn't help but take a look. It was only after she finished watching the video that she realized that the person who sent her the message was someone she didn't want to have anything to do with at the moment. Why would Liang Mumu send her this video? To prove that the secret she told me on Grandpa Lin's birthday was real? But did Liang Mumu forget something as well? Before she could verify it with her own eyes, she wouldn't believe anything Liang Mumu said. While Yao was deep in thought, the phone in her hand suddenly vibrated. Snapping out of her daze, she realized that it was a WeChat notification. It was a message from less than 111,111. Did you disconnect? Yao hurriedly replied. I received a message, so I accidentally switched out of the game. Mr. Numbers didn't reply to her, and she didn't reply to him either. Instead, she returned to the game. Interrupted by Liang Mumu's video, Yao didn't continue boasting to Mr. Numbers. When she switched out of the game earlier, the blue zone had arrived, and she had lost more than half of her health bar. Her situation was still considered normal, but Mr. Numbers was the one who was acting strangely. He could clearly outrun the blue zone, but he chose to stay by her side instead. While Yao healed herself, she couldn't help but ask, why didn't you outrun the blue zone either? Hearing Yao's voice, Lin Jiej's eyebrows shot up. Was there even a need to ask? Of course it was to eat the poison zone together with her. However, Lin Jiej didn't say a word. Instead, his fingers smoothly maneuvered the screen of his phone, and with a leap he entered the safe zone. He crawled into the bushes and took out a hemostatic pack to replenish his health before replying to Shi Yao. It's been a long time since I've eaten poison. I miss the taste of it. Shi Yao, who was drinking a mouthful of yogurt, nearly spurted it out when she heard less than 111,111's reply. This reply. I'll give him 88 points and give him the rest in the form of 666 points. I really can't give him any more. Not even a single point, because I'm afraid that he'll get too arrogant. With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao replied, Are you the rumored drug addict young man? What about you? After healing himself, Mr. Numbers stood up from the bushes and leaped onto a huge boulder. Hugging his 98K, he glanced around and said, Are you a drug addict young lady? Beauty? Hearing those words, Shi Yao's heart leaped in joy. She had completely forgotten that she was mocking Mr. Numbers earlier on. That's right, I'm an esports addict beauty. And you're an esports addict beauty. Handsome young man. I've long heard that your acting skills are heaven-defying. It's a pleasure to meet you. 111111. You're too kind. However, beautiful girl, I've heard that you're as beautiful as a fairy since a long time ago. Mr. Numbers sure knows how to talk. After swallowing the jelly, Shi Yao replied gleefully, You're overpraising me, handsome young man. You might not know this, but I've always been perplexed by the word handsome that my teacher taught me. It was only when I met you that I finally understood. You're handsome. 111,111. I'm ashamed, beautiful girl. If you're on the street and someone praises you for being good-looking, don't ever say that I'm not good-looking, because they'll beat you up and call you a hypocrite. Don't you know that your existence has saved the beauty market? Shi Yao was so overwhelmed by the compliments that she couldn't help but blurt out, Say you're so handsome that even the gods would be enraged by you, and I'm so beautiful that even the heavens would be enraged by me. We sure are a match made in heaven. A match made in heaven? Shi Yao blurted out those words without even thinking through them. It was only then that she realized that she seemed to have used the wrong word. Chapter 409. Just as Shi Yao was about to correct his mistake, less than 111,111's voice sounded in her earpiece. That's right. You're in charge of being pretty, and I'm in charge of being handsome. You're in charge of picking up herbs, and I'm in charge of killing. This isn't just a match made in heaven. It's more like a match made in heaven. 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 This Mr. Numbers is even more casual than me. All of a sudden, the burden on Shi Yao's heart was lifted, and she swallowed back the words she was about to correct him. Shi Yao thought that this would be the end of his boasting, but who could have thought that less than 111,111 would suddenly speak up once more? Since you and I are a match made in heaven, why don't we establish a lover's relationship in the intimate relationship game? A lover's relationship? You must be joking with me, right? Shi Yao's hands trembled, and she nearly dropped her yogurt. She secretly rejoiced that her yogurt wasn't ruined before she replied hesitantly. What did you say? Let's establish a relationship, a lover's relationship. As Mr. Numbers spoke, Shi Yao saw him raise his gun slightly, and a sentence that she was already used to appeared on her screen. Less than 111,111 eliminated. Give me a recommendation vote with 98K. Following which, a new page popped up on her phone screen. Winner's chicken dinner. Chicken dinner just like that? I haven't even done anything yet. Just as Shi Yao was about to compliment Mr. Numbers on his awesomeness, Mr. Numbers spoke up once more. It's at the bottom left corner in the Friends section. Tap on it, and you'll see that I've already submitted the request. Go and accept it. This matter isn't over yet? Shi Yao blinked her eyes in confusion. About that, may I ask why you suddenly want to establish a lovers? Shi Yao was a little embarrassed to say the word. Of course, an intimate relationship. There's no particular reason. Didn't you say that we're a match made in heaven, a match made in heaven, a match made in heaven? This is just business flattery, you can't take it seriously, can you? Shi Yao was just about to say, aren't you joking? But on the other end of the phone, Mr. Numbers seemed to have guessed what she was going to say next. And he spoke up once more. I meant what I said earlier. Could it be that you were lying when you praised me? The words that Shi Yao was about to say got stuck in her throat, and she couldn't bring herself to say them anymore. No, how could that be? My words of praise couldn't be any truer than that. It's even truer than milk tea. I believe you. Mr. Number's tone was filled with trust as he said, so you should go ahead and agree to it. If she didn't agree, wouldn't that mean that all her praises were fake? It was clearly just a simple business compliment. How did she end up marrying herself off in the game as she bragged about it? Shi Yao tapped on the Intimate Relationship tab, and sure enough, less than 111,111 had requested an intimate relationship with him. It's just a game, so it shouldn't be a big deal for us to become lovers. Shi Yao gritted her teeth as she clicked, accept. Returning to the main hall, Shi Yao said, I agree to it. Just like that, my first in-game marriage is given away. Chapter 4:10. If there's anything I didn't do well enough, I hope that you can forgive me. Are you trying to be courteous? Shi Yao pondered for a moment before replying politely, same here. If there's anything I didn't do well enough, I hope that you can forgive me as well. Mr. Numbers only replied with a single word before falling silent. He tapped on the keyboard and started the game. While waiting for the game to start, Shi Yao munched on her apple as she stared at the wall in front of her. Is there something wrong with my senses? Why do I feel like I've been tricked into a trap? And this trap is so huge that I'm still helping the other party earn money even though I'm being sold. By the time the game ended, it was already 11 at night. Xia Shangzhou and Lu Benlai hadn't returned to the dormitory yet. Lin Jiej bade Shi Yao good night in the game and waited for her to log off before putting down his phone and heading to the bathroom. Halfway through his shower, Lin Jiej suddenly heard a commotion outside through the bathroom door. He knew that Xia Shangzhou and Lu Benlai had returned after his shower. As soon as Lin Jiej opened the bathroom door, Xia Shangzhou and Lu Benlai immediately spoke up. Xia Shangzhou, boss, do you know how pitiful I am? Lu Benlai, boss, little Lai Lai is also pitiful. Do you know that? I don't. Lin Jiej replied nonchalantly as he dried his hair with a towel. After which, he added, I don't want to know either, Xia Shangzhou, this is so heart-wrenching. Boss, you really don't love me anymore. Lu Benlai, it's all your fault, grandson. It's definitely your fault that boss doesn't care about me anymore. Xia Shangzhou, bullshit, you grandson. You're the one who implicated me. Lu Benlai, I'm so handsome, how could I possibly implicate you? Lin Jiej calmly blew on his hair while the two of them were bickering with one another. When he finally put down the hairdryer, he glanced at the two people sitting beside him, and from their expressions it seemed like they were really depressed. Forget it, since it's my and Softbun's wedding today, I'll just show them some concern. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej pulled over a chair and sat down. Come, let me hear how pitiful you are. Xia Shangzhou, I'll go first. Lu Benlai, I'll go first. I'm your grandfather, so don't you know how to respect your elders? Xia Shangzhou replied. Then there's another phrase, loving the young. Lu Benlai, all right then. Since my grandson has said so, I'll give it to you then. Oblivious to the fact that he had fallen into a trap, Xia Shangzhou turned to Lin Jiej and said without any hesitation, boss, aren't we going to be in year 4 this holiday? Wouldn't that be an internship? So I started to submit my resume. Well, there's one thing I didn't tell you. I invested in your family's company. I didn't tell you because I was afraid that you'd find out and directly put me in the company. I'm a person with excellent character. I won't think of taking the back door. I still want to see my own strength. You're overthinking things. Other than Softbun, I won't open a back door for anyone else. Lin Jiej mercilessly pierced through Xia Shangzhou's delusions. Xia Shangzhou clutched his chest and whimpered, boss, there's always love. Can't you give me some face? Lin Jiej's lips twitched, but he didn't say a word. Chapter 4:11. I put on a suit and tie, and for the first time in my life, I called for a private car and headed to my boss's company. I gave it my all and applied for the job, and yesterday I finally received a call that I was approved. Do you know how happy I was? At that moment, I felt as if I had the entire world in my hands. But today, when I went to my boss's company to report in, I realized that what awaited me wasn't heaven but hell. I was actually assigned to my boss's big sister, and when I went to look for her with my application, she was in the middle of reprimanding someone. A second after I knocked on the door, she crushed a glass cup with her bare hands. Isn't that even scarier? What's even scarier is that my big sister must have done this to me because I accidentally saw her naked back then. She made me run around the city all day to buy food for her. And when I did, she wouldn't even eat it. I thought about it for a moment, and as a top student of G University, how could I allow myself to be trampled on by my big sister like that? So I rose up and told my big sister that I'm quitting my job. The next second, my big sister raised her fist at me, saying something like, "Do you think that my department is your back door, that you can come and go as you please?" And then, Lu Benlai asked curiously. And then, the confident look that Xia Shangzhou had on when he was recounting his rise vanished in an instant, replaced by a withered expression reminiscent of a shriveled eggplant. And then I chickened out. I told my big sister that I was wrong, and that I wouldn't leave anymore. "I'm willing to do anything for you. Putting aside the 5 years of my contract, I'm even willing to work for you for 10 years. After that, I was forced to sell my body to my boss's company for 10 years. 10 years. 10 years. Those were the best 10 years of my life." Ignoring Xia Shangzhou's wails, Lin Jiej turned to the gloating Lu Benlai and asked, "What about you?" Hearing Lin Jiej's question, Lu Benlai's face immediately turned sullen. "I'm much worse off than old Xia. Didn't I just receive my wife's Alipay some time ago? I thought that I would finally be able to get my wife's phone number. But this afternoon, I received a call from a public phone. My wife asked me to meet her in the woods at school. I dressed up and went over, but a second before I arrived, my wife threw the money in my face. Look, the red mark on my face is from the money. My wife even told me that she doesn't know how petty I am. I said, 'What do I have to do for you to give me your phone number?' She told me not to do anything. She told me to stay as far away from her as the sun is. My plan has failed just like that. I'll have to come up with a new plan, boss. Don't you think that I'm pitiful?" Hearing Lu Benlai's words, Xia Shangzhou also turned to Lin Jiej and asked, "Me too. Am I even more pitiful than little Lai Lai?" Lin Jiej shot a glance at the two men before him before leisurely leaning back on his chair. "Since the two of you are so pitiful, why don't I tell you a story about your recovery to cheer you up a little? Xia Shangzhou, boss really does love me. Lu Benlai, I'm all ears." Before Lin Jiej could say anything, a smile had already crept onto his lips. "Today is my wedding day with Yao Yao." Chapter 412. Before Lin Jiej could say anything, a smile had already crept onto his lips. "Today is my wedding day with Yao." As he spoke, Lin Jiej took out his phone and logged into the game. He tapped into the intimate relationship icon and showed it to Xia Shangzhou and Lu Benlai, saying, "Here the proof." Xia Shangzhou could vaguely hear the sound of a knife stabbing into his chest. "Boss, are you sure you're treating us and not kicking us while we're down?" Lu Benlai could clearly hear his heart shattering into pieces. "I was wrong. I shouldn't have listened. I should have covered my ears and refused to listen." It took a long while before Lu Benlai finally managed to compose his shattered heart. With a sliver of hope in his heart, he asked, "Boss, are you telling us this so that you can give us wedding candy so that you can treat us?" Hearing Lu Benlai's words, Xia Shangzhou also came to his senses and asked, "Boss, are you intending to bring little Lai Lai and me to Golden Resplendence to celebrate so that little Lai Lai and I can forget about our troubles? You're imagining things a little too much." Lin Jiej put away his phone and lazily leaned back on his chair. "My words earlier were meant to be a form of treatment for you." Xia Shangzhou clutched his chest and asked, "Boss, your treatment is a form of dog abuse." Lu Benlai rubbed his chest and replied, "Other people's treatment is a form of rebirth, but your treatment is a form of corpse whipping." "Dog abuse? Corpse whipping?" Lin Jiej frowned. Do you think that my words earlier aren't enough to treat you? He felt that it was indeed a form of treatment. It was as if the gloom of his life had been swept away, and his future had been filled with light. Lin Jiej pondered for a moment before replying. All right then. Since that's the case, I'll continue treating you then. When we were playing today, Yao Yao praised me. She said that I'm an esports addict. Xia Shangzhou and Lu Benlai glanced at one another before turning their gazes to Lin Jiej. Boss, are you sure that's a compliment? Lin Jiej was so immersed in the nickname Sure Yao had given him that he didn't pay any attention to the other two's expressions. A hint of pride surfaced on his face as he asked, isn't this nickname particularly pleasing to the ears? Pretty boy who's addicted to video games. I think he's super handsome, don't you think so? Let me tell you guys, Yao Yao not only praised me like this, she also said that my acting value is out of this world. She also said that she didn't know the meaning of handsome until she met me, then she understood the true meaning of handsome. After saying those words, Lin Jiej raised his eyebrows. How is it? Do you feel like you're cured now? Xia Shangzhou shook his head. What do you mean by cured? I don't know. All I know is that I was slaughtered like a dog. Lu Benlai nodded his head cooperatively. Similarly, I don't know what treatment means either. All I know is that not only was my corpse whipped, I was even raped. Since that's the case, I guess I'll have to resort to my final trump card then. Before Lin Jiej could say anything, a hint of embarrassment had already surfaced on his face. Yao Yao said that my handsomeness is infuriating to the gods, whereas her beauty is infuriating to the heavens. We're a match made in heaven. Chapter 413. Before Lin Jiej could finish his words, Lu Benlai abruptly stood up, clutched his stomach and rushed to the toilet. Boss, my stomach hurts. Damn it, this person is really shameless to steal my lines. Xia Shangzhou cursed Lu Benlai from inside out before standing up as well. Boss, it suddenly occurred to me that Linimu has something to tell me, and it's something very important. I have to go and take a look. The door to the toilet and dormitory room were slammed shut one after another. Lin Jiej was the only one left in room 501. Sitting on the chair, he furrowed his brows. Then, in his heart, he silently completed the sentence that he had just been interrupted. It's destined. It's a blessing from the heavens. Then, he stared at the ceiling for a while with the corner of his lips slightly raised. Then he got up and prepared to sleep. After bidding Mr. Numbers good night in the game, Sure Yao put down her phone and went to take a bath. By the time she was done washing up and tidying up, it was already close to midnight. Perhaps it was due to her relaxed state after her exams, but she couldn't fall asleep that night. Lying on her bed, her thoughts ran wild for a while before she picked up her phone, tapped into the internet, and started watching Adonis Legends competition videos. Even though Sure Yao had watched those videos many times, she still couldn't help but feel her blood racing every time she watched them. On the bullet screen she saw someone saying, "The elusive God L posted on Weibo." So, she quickly exited the streaming website and tapped into Weibo. She didn't use Weibo often, so the number of followers she had was pitifully low. Of course, the number of times she posted on Weibo could be counted on one hand, but every single one of them was related to Legend. She only followed a single person, and that was Legend. She entered Legend's Weibo page and saw that he had indeed posted a Weibo post this afternoon. In truth, her Adonis didn't use Weibo much either. Even though he had over 10 million followers, he had less than 10 posts to date. Even this latest Weibo post was just an advertisement for an event. The content was boring. It was just an advertisement, and those who reposted it would receive Legend's signature as a prize. Even though the content was boring, Sure Yao still earnestly read through Legend's Weibo posts from start to finish without missing a single word. She even joined the army of reposts that numbered more than 100,000. After reposting, she pondered for a moment before replying. Pull down the chances of winning a prize. She felt that the probability of winning a prize was too low, so she reposted it a few more times before exiting Weibo. Returning to the streaming platform, Sure Yao finished watching half of the match before finally feeling a little sleepy, so she took off her earphones. Just as she was about to put down her phone, she saw a notification on WeChat. Tapping on it, she saw that it was a group advertisement sent by her classmates. Paying no heed to it, she subconsciously tried to exit WeChat, only to catch sight of Liang Mumu. She hesitated for a moment, but eventually, she still clicked on it and watched the video that Liang Mumu had sent to her earnestly from start to end. Just like that, the drowsiness that she had just felt vanished without a trace. At the same time, in room 501, Lin Jiej, who had been lying on his bed for a very long time, was just about to fall asleep when his phone suddenly rang. He opened his eyes and glanced at the screen of his phone. It was a reminder that he had set up earlier. On the 30th, you have a date with Soft Bun at Mountain Changming. The time is 11 a.m. Chapter 4:14. Today was the 29th, 0:01 am. In other words, there were only 35 hours left before he would be confessing to Soft Bun. To be more precise, it was 34 hours and 59 minutes. Wait, it was already 02 minutes on the 29th, so it would be 34 hours and 58 minutes. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej felt his heart beating faster and faster. Even his breathing had somehow gotten a little hurried. He had already made arrangements for his confession a few days ago, but he still couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Closing his eyes, he went through the entire process of his confession in his mind. After making sure that he hadn't missed anything, his heart finally calmed down. But a moment later, he couldn't help but turn around and think about his confession the next day. In the end, he still couldn't help but feel a little unconfident. Even though he had memorized most of the details, he still couldn't help but tap on the notebook on his phone to look at the rules and regulations he had recorded. Passion fruit, loquat, watermelon, pineapple, pomegranate, roasted duck, vanilla ice cream and crab roe buns. These were Soft Bun's favorites, so he had specially instructed the open-air restaurant at the top of Mountain Changming to prepare them. He even told the driver that he would place the potato chips and milk tea in the car the next day. When Lin Jiej reached the end of the list, he couldn't help but frown. On the day of his grandfather's birthday, when Soft Bun was chatting with his older sister, she mentioned the days of the month when she felt uncomfortable. Soft Bun said that it was on the 28th of every month, which was these few days. His older sister told him to keep warm, drink brown sugar water, avoid cold and spicy food, and not overexert himself. Crap, I didn't take her menstrual period into consideration when I was preparing the confession. It looks like I have to make some changes to the details, however. He had personally made a trip to Mountain Changming to ensure that there were no problems with the details, but if he were to call them tomorrow morning, would they be reliable? While contemplating, Lin Jiej flipped around once more, and his gaze fell on Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou, who were lying on the bed. Compared to the staff, these two seemed to be more reliable. Lin Jiej pondered for a moment before clearing his throat and asking, "Are you guys free tomorrow?" Xia Shangzhou was the more honest one, so he swiftly replied, "It's the weekend tomorrow, so we're off." Sensing danger, Lu Benlai hesitated for half a minute before replying, "No, what's wrong?" Lin Jiej was very satisfied with the answer. "Then, shall the two of you set off for Mountain Changming at 5 tomorrow morning?" Lu Benlai, "Boss, I just remembered that I have an appointment with the professor tomorrow." Xia Shangzhou grew bolder when he saw that someone had rejected him in advance. "Yeah, I remember now. I might have to work overtime this weekend." Lin Jiej didn't say a word as he stared intently at the duo. Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou grew more and more uneasy. In the end, Xia Shangzhou couldn't take it anymore and finally relented. Boss, I said it's possible. F***ck, this grandson of his stand was not firm, and he betrayed him just like that." Chapter 4:15. Xia Shangzhou, do you have amnesia? Lu Benlai, you traitor. You have no right to speak. Xia Shangzhou, you're the traitor. Your entire family is traitor. Lu Benlai, grandson, you sure are a fool. You even dragged yourself into your insults. Do you know that you belong to my family too? Faced with such a situation, a slight frown appeared on Lin Jiej's forehead as he coughed lightly. The dormitory room fell silent. Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou turned to Lin Jiej. Since he was already a coward, he might as well let his coward have some dignity. Thus, Lu Benlai spoke up, "Boss, is there any benefit in going to Mountain Changming? The heck, little Lai Lai, you really have no morals. Why are you talking about benefits when helping a friend? Just watch me." As Xia Shangzhou spoke, he turned to Lin Jiej and said, "Boss, don't worry. I'm not as shameless as little Lai Lai. I only want a 10-day tour to Golden Resplendence." Lu Benlai. As the old saying goes, the student surpasses the master. As expected of my grandson, you have truly reached the pinnacle of the path of shamelessness. This time, before Xia Shangzhou could retort, Lin Jiej had already spoken up. "Who is Yao Yao? Is she Lung Wan's roommate? Since she's Lung Wan's roommate, does that mean that Yao Yao has Lung Wan's phone number? If I successfully woo Yao Yao, does that mean that I have Yao Yao's phone number as well? Similarly, if Yao Yao has Yao Yao's phone number, does that mean that I have it too?" Lu Benlai, "Daddy, there's no need to say anything else. As long as you say the word, even if I have to climb the heavens and dive into the sea of flames, I'll do it." Ignoring Lu Benlai's words, Lin Jiej calmly looked at Xia Shangzhou and said, "Who am I? I am Lin Jiej, the successor of the Lin family enterprise. I'm about to graduate from university, and it won't be long before I take over the family business. By then, who will have the greatest say in the Lin family enterprise? Of course, it'll be me. In other words, I'll be able to promote whoever I want, and I'll be able to force their contract to expire. Of course, if I want someone to be trapped in the Lin family enterprise for the rest of their lives, Chongming Mountain is a good place. I can't wait to rush there right now." Xia Shangzhou shuddered and spoke without hesitation. "Don't think that I'm in the dormitory now. My heart and soul are already at Mountain Chongming." Leaning leisurely against the wall, Lin Jiej asked nonchalantly, "So, does this mean that you've agreed to help me?" Lu Benlai. "I've never rejected you. Boss, I promised you before you even said anything. It was Shi Lai who rejected me." Xia Shangzhou retorted, "Bullsh *T. You were the one who rejected me first. I was just following the trend. Boss, don't listen to little Lai Lai's nonsense. My feelings for you are like Zhuang Tai's love for Liang Shambua, or Juliet's love for Romeo. My determination to help you is like Meng Jiangnu crying for the Great Wall." What the heck was this? Was this analogy saying that he was Zhuang Tai Juliet, or Meng Jiangnu? Let's not talk about whether he was willing to be Liang Shambua and Romeo. If he was really Zhuang Tai Juliet and Meng Jiangnu, then these three stories would definitely not be classic works, but works of horror. You're tuning into the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.